I'm here with Frank Longstaff, last year's winner of the Cambridge Criterium. Frank, that was a fantastic ride last year with a really, really long sprint from all the way down the bottom straight. How did that feel?
Oh, took myself by surprise, to be honest. I think most people know that wasn't part of the plan. I actually consider myself a sprinter, so I did want a bunch kick. But yeah, just the way it played out last year, the stars aligned. So I'd imagine I won't get away with that again this year, but we'll see.
Yeah, you may have a few more eyes on you this time round. But how are you feeling ahead of today?
Yeah, I feel really good. We've got a really strong team. Just had a little team meeting now, so yeah, we've got a plan, and as long as one of us wins it, then we're going to be happy.
Well, good luck with that. Thanks very much for your time.
Thanks very much.
So if he wants to do a side lap.
And of course, he comes into this as one of the big favourites alongside Matt Bostock. But have you got anyone else that you would like to keep an eye on today, Ollie?
So on the start list, we also have.
I mean, yeah, when you look at the start list, I think arguably it's potentially a little last year. We obviously got Frank and Matt that are, fast men in an obvious way. But I'm down Will Tidball, who obviously, initially did win Otley a couple months ago, and but yeah, he showed there a very fast finish in not an identical sort of course, but a wide finish. So Will is always a fast rider in that final. We've also got the likes of Dylan Hicks, who was third at Rutland this year, top 10 at Crit Champs. He's been out racing abroad a lot this year, abroad. So yeah, I know Dylan. I coach Dylan, and I know he's well up for today. And another rider I have listed here is Alex Beldon, and Alex is a very accomplished rider with a lot of credentials behind him, and a very clever, canny rider. So yeah, those are my sort of top 5 picks, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely, and of course Dylan Hicks is just off the back of winning the Beaumont Trophy as well for Raptor Racing. So a former St Piran rider, of course they're no more, but with Raptor they've really come up and stepped up, and they look really great this year. I do believe that we actually have some highlights from last year's race just to show what the finale was like, and that brilliant and very narrow win by Frank Longstaff in Cambridge last year.
This peloton is really whittled down now as a very small group compared to what we started with, and they're coming into the final few hundred metres of this race today here at the Monument Cycling Cambridge Grand Prix, Cambridge Criterium I should say. And yeah, Tamfield just holding the front. Of course, he's so good at this sort of race, brilliant through the corners and so much power on the bike. And he's looking like he's getting towards his better form as he's looking to do this lead out for Will Roberts, who just looks to have moved back a bit. Yeah, he's moved into about 5th or 4th wheel. There are lots of jostling for position behind Tamfield as we look like we've gotten one final late attack here.
Yeah, that's Frank Longstaff there, coming up on that right side as we see it on the road left side for them. And Frank, he's a phenomenal track rider as well. This sort of effort now, a kilo to go, this is his effort. This is what he's good at. So it would not surprise me here if Frank holds on for the win as we come now into the kind of final closing meters into the finish. So Frank's doing a very good job here at holding on, and it looks like Frank could potentially hold on. There's a closing sprint behind. Is Frank going to hold on?
Yeah.
Stop coming up.
Oh, and it is Frank Longstaff. He takes the win. That is a fantastic performance. What a perfectly timed move. The sprinters came up on him right at the end, really rushed him, but he held on the line to take the win.
Not bad for someone that's so casual. You know it, mate.
Of course, that was a really fantastic finale to what was a really attacking and fast-paced race, and this course really lends itself to that sort of racing today, doesn't it, Ollie?
Yeah, it really does. I think what was quite interesting is last year, obviously the women's women's race, men's race completely ended in a very, very different fashion. Men's race obviously being a bunch sprint with Frank going on a fly in that last, and the women's race being one from a breakaway. So it does show that, you know, it's quite an unknown. You look at the course as a whole, and you can sort of gamble on it coming back down to a bunch sprint. But you know, when you look at the strengths of Das Richardson's, as a team around him last year, he didn't have huge support. He sort of had to be a bit more clever and canny. So I would imagine, you know, with the good up for grabs, I think all the boys at Das will be backing Frank. And when you look at the squad of Das Richardson, they've got, you know, a very, very strong depth of experience within the squad, and a lot of horsepower that can contest. You know, if Frank's not up there, or there is, I can guarantee you that we'll be seeing Das Richardson on the front. Arguably, you look at Techers on paper, they're also matched for strength with Alec Briggs as Bostock's sort of left-hand man. So yeah, it will be an interesting fight between those two teams. I think it's you know, it's on them really to control the race if they are missing out on the move and anything, then other riders that, you know, we haven't even mentioned at the moment can definitely profit off. So yeah, I think it really is hard to predict. It really is hard to predict. I think Das will be happy with you know, the likes of Will Perrett like that going up the road himself in a small group, but then, you know, you've got Frank to finish it off behind. So yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Of course, we've got the National Circuit Series winner in this race as well for Wheelbase Cabtech Castelli and Tom Armstrong as well. And he's got a really good opportunity today. And in fact, we caught up with him just before the start today.
I'm here with Tom Armstrong of Wheelbase Cabtech Castelli. Tom, you've had a pretty brilliant year when it comes to the crits, winning the crit series overall. How was that?
Yeah, that was good fun. It was a bit unexpected. I thought I'd be in for a shout, but I didn't think I'd be able to win the overall. Obviously didn't win a round. That was the main objective. But, you know, we're here again tonight, so we'll see what happens.
And how do you feel ahead of today?
Confident, but, you know, it's a tough sprint field. And I think, if we're honest, it's probably going to be a big sprint as well. You've got some big boys here, like you've got Jim, Bostock, Longstaff. You know, there's a big field of sprinters, so I'll see if I can poke my nose out and get round.
Well, good luck. Thanks.
He more suits the courses like Otley and Ilkley, and we saw that this year in the Circuit Series, as we see the riders doing on a rolling start. But what do you think of his chances today? Of course, it'd have to be from a breakaway.
Yeah, he acknowledged there himself that you know, he did take the overall series without winning a round, so it's going to be a challenge, I think, for him to win. I think he's been the most consistent crit rider this year, but yeah, to get that win, you know, there are a lot of top sprinters, as he said, Jim Brad here, which I did have listed as a top favourite. He's been away in the States racing the Criteriums out, so yeah. Obviously, a lot of riders are instantly going to default to sort of, it's going to be a bunch sprint, it's going to be a bunch sprint. With Wilkes, how this race pans out, I think it would not surprise me in the slightest if we do see a breakaway winning, because it's, you know, everyone's sort of probably been Chinese whispering between each other that, it's going to be a sprint. But, you know, this course, as we saw in the women's last year, hadn't happened. So, it's open. It's an open race.
But it's exactly why it's called the open race. I mean, it's not that's not why it's called that. But yeah, it's the joys of circuit racing, really, isn't it? You think you've got, like, you look at the course. So, say for example, Otley and Ilkley, very hilly. You think, oh well, that'll be reduced groups, and sometimes, like we saw this year in Otley, it was and it's something that it's really great to have races like this coming onto the calendar for its second year. How important is this for the UK scene, Ollie?
Yeah, I mean, just important for just the UK scene. I think it's just important for British cycling as a whole. You know, we've we've shown that the UK worldwide. You speak to anyone around the world about the UK crits, and they're famous. So it's great that Monument are able to put this event on and give you sort of the missing link that the Tour Series and other events in the past used to sort of hold. So last year was a fantastic event and a fantastic period to have the race, and it's on again. But it would be great to see more of these events, and also having this sort of live stream and production to go along with it.
Absolutely, well said. Well, this of course isn't part of the British Cycling National Series, but it is part of the Rafa Super League, which is a new thing for this year. And what do you think of this as a whole new dynamic as we get to about a kilometre from the start-finish line? What do you think the Rafa Super League has brought to the domestic scene for this year?
I think, to be honest with you, I think there's a mix. Obviously, there's going to be some riders that have been looking at it as a series, and some that have accidentally been scoring points and going along with it, and then sort of realising that, actually I'm not too far up. I think because it's a new series, I think next year it will be even more sort of hotly contested and even more interest. I think because it's such a new concept. I think it's almost like the riders that are leading it are just basically the most consistent riders throughout the whole year across every sort of event: crits, road race, hilly road races, flat sprints, every sort of event. So I think it's great that Rafa have put in some investment into back. Obviously, we used to have Rafa Condor back in the day, a very, very famous UK continental team that sadly folded years ago now. But it's great that Rafa can get back involved soon.
Definitely, and them posting on their own socials, it means that it gets a more of an international focus as well, because Rafa is such a well-known brand across the world now. But yeah, having Rafa Condor, it was one of the best kits in the peloton, I think. It's always seen like riders like Ed Clancy blitzing around some random northern town circuit race. Those were the days of the British cycling. But of course, we're getting those days back, and it's all looking like we're on the right path. We actually have quite a few of the riders who are in the top 10 in the Rafa Series at this race. Of course, Matt Bostock is the leader for Tekka CC. He leads the race series by 271 points to Will Truelove's 228. So everything to play for still. I think it's just this race and Wentworth Woodhouse, which of course is a new race on the calendar, the new North Yorkshire race. Well, South Yorkshire, I should say, since the North Yorkshire race, Rydell Grand Prix, has dropped off the calendar. So it's nice to see that Yorkshire getting another race to the calendar, and it's nice to see that it is a mix of road racing and circuit racing on the Super League competition. But yeah, do you think Matt Bostock's going to be holding on to this lead now? Of course, he's probably the favourite coming into today.
Yeah, I mean, barring any incident in the race, puncture, mechanical crash, I mean, Matt will be he'll be fighting for the win. As I said, our sort of favourites that we mentioned, Jim Brown and Frank are probably the two that you can really look at. And of course, Dylan Hicks not only won Beaumont last week, but winning UCI Point 1 bunch sprint in Greece. So there's a lot of credentials within the race. Jacob Vaughan, who used to race for Canyon DHV, and in his own right is a very, very good rider. I think I'm not sure how his form is, but Jacob's such a clever rider. Would not surprise me if a break goes up the road and Jacob's there. He's not raced a huge amount this year in comparison to previous years, but I think he's actually also represented by and has a partnership with Rafa. So he'll be interested. But as we see now, I think we're getting our lineup of our top riders in the rankings of the Rafa Super League. Jim Brown there with Tom Armstrong, Alec Briggs there, Boston and Man pulling a bit of a wheelie. It would be interesting to see how they play it today.
I always find Alec and now Matt, of course, on the same team as Alec, their tactics in the circuit races. It's always seems that Alec goes up the road and tries early on, and obviously Matt's the person who they want the race to come to rather than he goes to the race having to attack, and Alec's the one that could maybe get a result by attacking early on. So we could probably see those sort of tactics today, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, on this course, I think last year it showed that every time we came through the start-finish, the race was in one line. So yeah, if you want a breakaway to go, especially in this men's race, there's so many strong riders that have been all year racing crits and road races that can hold wheels and close gaps quite happily. If you want to split this race in a small group of 3 or 4 riders goes clear, then you're going to need to make the race hard from the start. And numbers wise, it's Das and Tekkers that have that advantage alongside Muckhoff.
Yeah, we mentioned Muckhoff. Of course, Muckhoff SRCT Stock. They have 3 riders in the top 5 of the Rafa Super League. 2 of them are at this race with Will Truelove and Alex Beldon. So they've been having a superb season. It's much like Das Hutchinson over in the women's side of the race. And this team have had a really good series in the men's side. And what do you think of that? Is that, of course, like teams like St Piran disappearing, their dominance over the last few years has now gone, and it gives an opportunity for other teams to come up. And Muckhoff really seemed to have stepped up to that plate.
Yeah, I think now with that sort of gaping hole that not just St Piran, but just last few years, the sort of dissolving of UK continental teams on the men's side has enabled what would have been sort of club team, elite team teams having the depth and the top riders in the UK. So we do see a mix. We got Raptor with Rowan Baker, Dylan Hicks. You got Das with Will Perrett and Frank Longstaff. Spectra have serious depth. Muckhoff, Wheelbase, in their own right. Back in 5-6 years ago, riders in those teams would have been on the UK continental level teams racing not only in the UK but over in Europe in European UCI stuff. So it would be nice to see that again in the future. But yeah, I think it's spread a lot of top quality riders among these sort of existing teams that have been going for a very long time, like Wheelbase.
Absolutely, yeah. It's nice to see that we're getting a bit more momentum with racing again, and obviously we're seeing races like the Tour of the Reservoir coming back this year. We've had that already. It's just we're getting to see a bit more hope in the racing calendar. Of course, we had the stuff around Rutland, Melton Mowbray Classic as well. It's just a lot more variety of racing to add to the calendar.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think
so. We are going to begin on the whistle. This is the Elite Open race, penultimate race of the Cambridge Criterium 2025.
Yeah, we can hear Henry, the announcer in Cambridge, just getting ready to send the riders off on their race. And here we go, the Cambridge Criterium 2025, the second edition of this race, is off and running. All the riders over the start-finish line, and we immediately get our first attack of the day from the aforementioned Muckhoff SRCT Stork team.
Yeah, you can just see, I think, it's Alec Briggs in the Texas kit in third wheel, just patrolling there, making sure that is covered. It's always an interesting move early doors. Seeing riders attack off the line. Obviously everyone's fresh, everyone's ready for this start, knowing that it's going to be a very fast race. I think rider following coming across is Freddie Sheshka from Spectra Racing, who in his own right, and many years ago, 5 years ago or so, did win a Tour Series round, so he's not a stranger to Criteriums. As you see now, I think that is a third rider coming across the bunch to have completely sat up here.
Yeah, look, Alec Briggs was on the front, just sat on the front. He was looking around and flicking his elbow, getting other riders to come through, just letting this break go up the road. And so now we've got 3 riders going clear. It looks like there are some more moves behind. as we may have just lost some pitches there, unfortunately. But it looked like a Das Richardson rider was just about to explode out of the peloton. But yeah, it's interesting start. Why do you think that Alec was not bothered about making sure that group was not caught?
Well, I mean, I think the reality is obviously everyone's, the top riders are gridded. When you and Tekker's teammates, they could be 10, 20, 30 wheels back and haven't actually got to the front yet. So, for Alec there, it's a case of, do I burn all the matches to bring this back early doors, or wait until some teammates and other teams come and give us. I'd imagine in the next lap or so, if this break goes clear, the gap will stabilise. Maybe 15 seconds. But yeah, it's on Das and Tekker's and potentially Muck-Off here to control things.
Well, while we wait for the pictures to come back to us, which hopefully they will, apologies for the breakup, we do have an interview lined up with one of our riders who is going to be one of the favourites for today. He's been racing a lot in the US this year. It's Jim Brown.
I'm here with Jim Brown ahead of today's race. Jim, you've had a little bit more of an interesting year compared to probably most of the riders in this race, and that you've been racing in America for an American team. How's that been?
No, it's been mega actually. I really like the races over there, so I can't complain. They support me well, and it's fun just seeing new places, going to new races. Pretty good, no complaints.
And how have you found the races in comparison to UK races? Because they have got a really strong crit scene over there.
Yeah, race pretty much solely crits, and the race is super aggressive. That's kind of you got to get your elbows out to be successful, and it's been a bit different, but I like crits, so I don't mind.
And how are you feeling ahead of today?
Yeah, confident. I've not raced for a bit because I had a crash just at the Nationals, so it took me a bit to come back from that, but I'd say I'm in good shape now, so I'm kind of on the way up as opposed to some people at this time of year that might be on the way down, so I'm confident.
Well, thanks very much for your time and good luck today.
Cheers, man.
We just had the riders come through for the end of the first lap, and here's the lineup of who was leading. So we had, bear with me while I get it, was Joe Adlam Cook for Ride Revolution Coaching leading the way. And as you said, Ollie, Frederick Sheshko is right up there. He was in third for Spectra. Could he be a danger today? As you mentioned, it was a while ago, but he's got experience of winning circuit races.
Yeah, I mean, you can rider like Freddie, write him off. He's a clever rider. He's a big, strong guy as well. So he's been racing a lot of gravel races in the last year or so. So again, you can't write him off. It does look like also Alec Briggs has come across. Look like it's a second gap now, with Rowan Baker leading the bunch through. So Briggs, I think, by the looks of it on the timing, has managed to bridge across. But yeah, another rider in that breakaway from Schill's Dolcini Racing Team is Carl Jolly, who in his own right, again, he's not a slow finisher. He's got a fast finish. So the rider in that break that is strong.
Yeah, and you're seeing Will Perrott up there as well. That must have been the Das Richardson rider we saw just before pitches broke up, bridging across. It does look like Raptor doing the controlling in the peloton. Rowan Baker on the front, Will Trulove also in the wheels there as well. It's going to be a tricky one for them to try and control this, really, if that break is getting away, because it's a lot of very strong riders. Will Perrott, Alec Briggs, Sheshko up there as well, of course. How do you think it's going to be? They're going to have to get organised quite quick. I think we may have just lost Ollie momentarily. Apologies for that. Hopefully we'll be back soon. But yeah, of course, we don't have many pictures, but it looks like we are coming through for the second lap. You can just see the riders coming through now. That looks like Will Perrett, but the peloton is coming all back together again. One rider from Das Richardson going off the front. Really stretched out. Plenty of riders off the back already. Yeah, it was
as I said,
Will Perrett.
As I said before, start finish every lap. It's just in one line. Riders getting distance every time through the start finish. And I think this is just going to happen. Obviously, we haven't got live pictures at the moment, but yeah, we can for live timing.
Yeah, and you can see on the live timing we've got lots of the big name favourites right up towards the front. Will Perrett had a very small gap over the peloton there, but right up towards the front is Will Truelove, Alec Briggs, Will Tidball, and all these other riders. Like Dan Barnes also just sort of lurking in around top 10 positions, top 20 positions. If he gets away solo in the closing stages, that'll be a very difficult rider to bring back. As we can see, we've got our Red Bull DJs on at the moment. Yeah, it's all nice and serene at the finish line. Start-finish line, of course. Just hoping that we can get back the live pictures for you on the motorbike. But at the moment, we are just having to get it through every time they come through the start-finish line. But as I say, last time we saw them, it was Will Perrett leading away for Das Richardson's with a small gap over the William Salter-led peloton for BCC race team. Peter Cocker was right up there for Das Richardson's as well. It's an interesting start. Das Richardson's looking like they're trying to really overload the front with riders, just making sure that they're following or creating every single move. As the sun comes out in Cambridge City Centre, it's like last year when I was commentating on this race, I hadn't actually been to Cambridge. That has changed this year. I went in April. It was very lovely. It's about as warm as it is today, really. It's about 25 degrees in Cambridge. They'll be happy, really, the riders, I think, because tomorrow apparently it's forecast to be 28 degrees and complete sunshine, which to some would be heaven on earth, but that'd be absolute hell to me. I'm from up in the frozen north, so I prefer the much cooler temperatures. But as we see the motorbikes coming back through, just waiting on to see who the riders are coming through. We've got a one solo rider going away, and it's Tom Armstrong, the only wheelbase Cabtech Castelli rider, going clear, and he looks to have got a good gap here. The peloton a little bit behind, led by Dan Barnes. Jim Brown right up there with him as well, but at the moment Tom Armstrong just has just under 11 seconds on the peloton. Very interesting that Tom Armstrong is up the road.
Doesn't seem to look like there's much. Yes, sorry about that. My microphone was giving me some issues there, but it does look like that there's no organisation behind, which is interesting. Having Frank up in the front, but yeah, I can't see many of his teammates in the front controlling, so I think they're going to need to get a shift onto the front if they want to make sure Tom's advantage doesn't go out.
Of all the riders to allow up the road as well, he may be solo and there's a long way to go, of course, but would you be happy to just let Tom Armstrong get a 11-second lead on you that easily?
No, I mean, I wouldn't. I think, he's got 11 seconds, but at the end of the day, someone has to close this down. So, yeah, we're going to have to see Das or someone coming to the front here.
and I think we're able to go down live onto the trackside for a little bit of a bit on the microphone.
Okay, I'm live here just by the finish line of Cambridge Criterium 2025. I'm going to talk a little bit about the riders that we've got in the race. So first of all, I'll start off with Frank Longstaff, last year's winner. This was a rider who was dubbed by our friends over at the British Continental as the most underrated rider in Britain this year. He's had quite a lot of success this year on the track, but he's kind of flown under the radar, at least my radar, on the National Crit Series as well, with frequent top tens. And last year's ride was nothing short of incredible. It was a race that I think everyone expected to come down to a bunch finish, which it did to a degree, but Frank decided that he'd attack from the bottom corner, and he managed to hold them off by quite a few bike lengths all the way to the line, denying Matt Bostock of the win. Matt Bostock's here again today, another extremely talented rider. He's been around racing the British scene for years and years, and a very noticeable rider in every race that he does. He's won Sheffield Grand Prix this year and Cologne Grand Prix with two really special rides, and I think he'll be hoping to redeem himself this year. I'd also like to talk about Alex Belden. He was just behind Matt Bostock in the Sheffield Grand Prix. Alex, probably standout ride for me this year was National Road Racing Championships. He came away with 7th place, and that's a ride that I don't think anyone really expected him to do, because he we've just got the race coming along here, World Tour riders, and that's a really standout ride for me. Looks like we're all back together here. Tom Armstrong, the last time they came through, was just off the front, Tom being the winner of the National Crit Series this year. Another, probably a bit of a standout year when it comes to crits for Tom. Tom's a rider who has shown success many times on the road and in the crits, but I don't think he's a guy who'd probably class himself as a crit rider. But then again, he came away with the Crit Series win for 2025, and he's already been aggressive in this race so far. We've not been going too long, about 15 minutes now, but I'm genuinely really interested to see how this is going to play out, because this race is a little bit different to most crits, in that it's a 2.6 kilometre circuit. There's not many circuits that are longer than, well, a kilometre, 1.2 kilometres, so that changes the dynamic straight away anyway. It's a pretty wide circuit, and there's quite a few sort of different sections to it, in that all the corners I think are pretty nice. I spoke to Sam Fawcett, the winner of the women's race last year. She said that you can pretty much pedal around any corner on the course, bar one right at the very bottom. On this side of the course, we've got nice wide roads that are super fast, and then on the other side of the course we go through the windy little roads of Cambridge, right through the market town, and yeah, I'd say it's a race that's maybe going to throw a few of the riders off who've been racing the Crit Series all year, because it's just quite different, and it's going to give a very different dynamic. Another rider I spoke to earlier was Jim Brown. Jim's been racing in America this year for an American team, and that's a racing scene that's very different to ours in that it's very crit centric. So in this country we've got the National Crit Series that's made up of Sheffield Grand Prix, Cologne Grand Prix. We've got about 6 or 7 rounds. Ilkley, Otley, they're the sort of big ones that have been going for years and years. But in America it's crits every week, on big closed roads, that are very big wide roads that are really it's probably a little bit more similar to this race in how the races are designed. So it'll be very interesting to see how Jim gets on today. I spoke to him a little bit earlier in the interview, and he said he was very confident. I'm going to throw back to our commentators now, and yeah, back to you guys.
So just 9 seconds.
Thanks for that, James. Yeah, it's since we've been away with James there, we've seen that Tom Armstrong has been caught again. So in that last lap, the peloton obviously got its act together. It was William Salter, BCC race team, that was leading the way, ahead of Connor White from Muckhoff SLCT stock. It's like all of the same riders who are all just staying towards the front, not quite sure of what to let go as breakaways trying to form, and then the peloton brings it back again, and it's very tense at the moment. So far, it has been... Well, I don't know if you just heard that from Henry on the voiceovers, we see peloton come through and we have a new breakaway forming. Connor White of Muck-Off SRCT Stork, Will Salter of BCC, Will Perry of Das Richardson, Carl Jolly of Shills Dolcini, Rowan Baker of Raptor Factory Racing, Tom Armstrong of Wheelbase Cabtech Castelli, and Dylan Hicks, all in that group there. It looks like behind Wheelbase are doing a lot of the controlling, as we do have the live pictures back. Yeah, this looks like it could be a very good breakaway to get away. There's some very talented riders in here. We've picked out a few of them already today. We've already spoken to Tom Armstrong earlier today, but also Rowan Baker. We've seen over the last few years, of course, he's moved to Raptor for this season, but he was at St Piran last season and did some brilliant racing over there. Will Perrett, likewise, a former St Piran rider. Very strong riders in this group. They have a good gap of about 18 seconds on the peloton at the last check. I'm a big fan of that Raptor racing team kit. It's a very smart kit. So you see them powering through. We get the last time gaps that we had up on screen for you. Yeah, it's a very interesting one to allow to go, this, once again. It's got some good teams in there. Again, Tom Armstrong riding solo today for Wheelbase Cabtech Castelli. He's looking very strong, gapping his breakaway companions there on that tight corner as we come through one of the more undulating parts of the course. Yeah, it looks like we've got a very interesting race shaping up here after 5 laps. We're about coming up to halfway through the 6th lap now. 17.836 seconds splitting them and the peloton, to be absolutely precise. 4 riders from Muck-Off SRCT Stork on the front. They are either chasing for their riders. Of course, they've got Alex Belden, Ed Morgan, Jake Jackson and Will Truelove on the front of the peloton. But they've got Connor White up in the break. Maybe they were blocking. We didn't quite see, or I didn't quite see, what was going on at the front of the peloton when they came through last. Just getting a bit more break-up at the moment, but hopefully it'll be back again soon. But yeah, the racing is really wide open at the moment. There's good crowds out in Cambridge today for this event. Cambridge is self-named as the cycling capital of the UK. They've gone into their Visit Cambridge site. 55% of residents make a journey by bike at least once a week, which is of course incredibly impressive. It's really good to see as we see the break coming back across the start-finish line once again. Let's see what their time gap is. See the live coverage coming back for us. Nice smattering of crowd along here as we go over the River Cam. Back in the Middle Ages, the River Cam, of course, was called the River Granta, giving the city the name Granta Bridge. The River Granta is one of the sources for the River Cam. So that is why it was originally called that. As we see the peloton come through, it is Alex Belden still on the front, but it's almost 25 seconds splitting the two now. The breakaway working together really well. The peloton just not quite getting their act together yet. There's some teams that really should be getting on top of this. But the problem is, the two main teams at this race, really, on paper, Muck-Off and Das, they are both have riders in the break, so they have no reason to do any chasing. And we can see that we've got Alex Belden just sat on the front of the peloton. He's not going to chase, he's happy. He's got his teammates Will Truelove and Jake Jackson around him. Also Das, Hutchinson's, they're right up towards the front. Even Dylan Hicks from Raptor Racing, he's got his teammate Rowan Baker up the road. So there's no reason for any of them to be chasing. Ben Tuckner is right up there for Tekkers. He might now start doing some chasing for Alec Briggs and Matt Bostock. Of course, Matt Bostock, second last year by a matter of centimetres, catching up rapidly to Frank Longstaff, who took the win last year. Frank Longstaff also at this race. He is sat in the peloton, of course, was riding for Dolcini last year, but this year he's at Das Richardson's. He's in a good position. He's got his teammate up the road in this breakaway, Will Perrett. Will Perrett, as we said, very, very good for this sort of race. We are just waiting on Ollie to come back. He's currently trying to swap microphones, as the last one was seeming to fail him, unfortunately. But we're nicely settling into this race, as this breakaway seems to be really working well together and pushing on, pushing a good gap as well, as we're around about a kilometre to go until the start-finish line once again. See, this year, interestingly, the point where Frank Longstaff made his attack is actually fenced off, because last year he went around the traffic island, I believe, if memory serves me right, and he used that to get a gap. This year they've fenced it off, which is a very interesting choice. Of course, traffic islands, they can be very dangerous, and in the closing stages of these sort of races, you don't want anything to get in the way of the riders. As we're coming up to the start-finish line, and I think we may be able to welcome Ollie Moores back just in time for this breakaway to come across the start-finish line yet again. Ollie, are you there?
Hello, mate. Yeah, back now. New mic. We should be all good now, moving forward. Looks like there's a lot that has happened since I've been gone looking for a new mic. So yeah, breakaway has gone clear.
Absolutely, yeah, and with some really good riders up there as well. They've got a really good gap now on the peloton. Just waiting for them to come through, actually, as they've just crossed the start-finish line now. And we're seeing it has closed down. It's closed down by about 10 seconds, so it's about 17 seconds between the breakaway and the peloton now. Still led by Alex Beldon. They've got rider in the break and Connor White. Why a muck-off SRCT stock on the front? Because it doesn't actually look like they are trying to disrupt the chase.
Yeah, I mean, if that's Alex Beldon in the breakaway, which it's not, but he's on the front. It could just be, as you said, getting in the way. Frank's also there alongside Alex Beldon. Ed Morgan from Muck-Off is also there. I think if I was Muck-Off, I'd be quite happy to shut this down. Alex can sort himself out in this finish. I think he has an opportunity here to go for the win.
And out of the riders in this break, of course, we've seen in the past that some of these riders have got a brilliant sprint in them. Rowan Baker is probably a real standout name. Would you say he's the fastest in this group, or do you think someone else out of this group of 6 could be potentially faster than him if it comes down to a sprint between the 6 of them?
Yeah, if nothing came back, then obviously I think Perrett. You know, he's a phenomenal track rider, very, very experienced track rider, and has a fast finish on him from the track. Carl Jolly, as I mentioned earlier, he's also finish on him. So yeah, it's an interesting breakaway, one where you sort of look at and there's not an out sort of black and white sprinter per se. But what is interesting to me here, mate, is that where are Tekut?
Well, exactly. They've had Ben Tuckner around the front. He crossed the line in 11th last time they went through, but he's not on the front. As we've mentioned, Muck-Off, Das Richardson, and some of the other teams as well. Raptor have been up there with Dylan Hicks a few times as well. Then he's not coming through and really pushing that hard, and you'd think maybe Tuckner would also have Briggs up there with him if they're going to just focus on Matt Bostock. But yeah, I'm not sure on what the tactics are so far, but we shall see when they next come across the start-finish line of what their gap will be if it has come down any further.
Thing is also to bear in mind here is this cohesion from this breakaway looks at the moment very, very solid. You know, there's no majorly skipping turns. Everyone's committed here, as we see. I think this is a preem lap here for the breakaway. But it'd be interesting now to see how this cohesion continues, or whether it breaks up. Alex having to close the gap from Muck-Off now onto Armstrong's wheel. Carl Jolly's actually sat there quite happily, quite smartly, just following the wheels. He's been pulling, but yeah, not having to do any real effort there to get through that corner and using the speed through that corner. So, yeah, I mean, at the moment, the way it's looking is it's advantage breakaway. It's a good size. It's not too big that there's room to sit on and skip turns. But yeah, they look like they are cooperating really well. No one's skipping turns.
And we can see that the gap has actually gone out again. It's gone out to about 20 seconds. It's Archie Pete of Reflex No Pins on the front. There's some of the other smaller teams as well, as Andrew Hastings right up towards the front of the peloton as well for Haste CC, hopefully saying it right. Yeah, it's bringing out some of the riders from the, say, lesser known. That's a bit unfair, but it's not the teams that we necessarily expected to be doing the chasing behind now.
No, I mean, as I said, you've got Perrett there from DAT. In my opinion, it still now leans onto Tekkers. You know, Hicks behind from Raptor, Rowan up there, so Raptor, you know, don't need to do anything here. DAT have Perrett there, and then the other riders are. It's not on them, you know. Armstrong's got no teammates behind. So yeah, in my opinion, it should be Tekkers really that we should be seeing shutting this down. And you know, if they can't fully shut it down, 20 seconds is still bridgeable with two riders together trying to punch across this gap. But as I said, the cohesion from this front group is not breaking up at all. So yeah, it's going to be a bit of a challenge to bring this breakaway back at the moment.
It's interesting with these preem laps, of course, we saw them actually going for the sprints there, but they're getting straight back into working hard together as well. It's like sometimes you have these sprints and you have riders really focusing in on these competitions, and it could cause some disruption in the break. But it seems here that they're working quite well at the moment.
Yeah, you know, in this situation, for all of those riders, you know, having to try and beat 5 riders as opposed to trying to beat 65 riders is always going to be an easier situation. So, you know, if I was any of these riders or a team manager in the pits from any of these teams, really I would be wanting to get that gap out as much as possible and as large as possible. Right now they can't afford to be skipping turns, playing games, thinking about the finish at all. They're very, you know, it's been going now for quite a while now, but it's still a long way to go in the centre of a criterium. So yeah, no skipping turns still. Everyone's pulling. Alex Beldon now leading the breakthrough with Perrett on his wheel. You know, I think it's quite comfortable. Everyone's contributing, and I think everyone in that breakaway has a second and third and fourth gear to click through. So as we see now, the bunch through. One rider coming off. Alec now signalling to Tekkers. Sadly, I think at the moment it's not a little too late, but there is no sign of this breakaway slowing. So Tekkers need to shut this down ASAP if they really want to bring this back.
And with Muck-Off having riders in the break, of course, they've got plenty of riders in and around the front of the peloton as well. And we actually caught up with one of their riders, Ed Morgan, earlier before the race today, and we can show you that interview right now.
I'm here with Ed Morgan of Muck-Off SRCT Stork. Ed, you're having an absolutely fantastic year until a bit of a get down at National Champs. How are you recovering?
Yeah, quite well actually. I mean, 10 days back now outside riding, enjoying it, but I mean, I wouldn't quite say I'm on the same form as I was before the crash.
Yeah, and you were having a really good year, maybe a little bit of a breakout year this year, do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like my best year I've had so far, but I think I've had sort of the ability there. It's just my kind of life circumstances haven't always been perfect. Like I did my teacher training last year, and that kind of probably wasn't ideal. But now this year, a bit more focus on the bike and working part-time instead, and that's helped massively.
And how are you feeling ahead of today?
Really excited. I never thought I'd say I'm excited for a crit, but I'm really excited. really excited to get stuck in, help the boys, because I think we've got a good chance with Will, good chance with Alex, and it'd be nice to see if we can like mop up some preems as well.
Thanks very much for your time and good luck.
Cheers, James.
So we just see the rider list of who's come through in the last lap. It's an interesting race at the moment. The gap has closed a little bit. It's around 16 seconds now. It looks like some riders, Alec Briggs, as we mentioned, was right up towards the front. He had his arm up though. So what could that suggest? Could that be calling his teammates up, Ollie, or do you think it's an issue with his bike?
No, it looked like he was trying to call his teammates up. It's quite a classic move in crits to get your team to the front. But as I said, in my opinion, this needed to be under control about 10 minutes ago. It's 18, 19, 20 seconds ebbing and flowing around there. As we saw, there were riders pinging off the front, ones and twos. So this gap is just going to keep ebbing and flowing with no actual team controlling this race currently. So it wouldn't surprise me if it at some point comes down to 15 seconds. Maybe one or two riders will attack and try and bridge across. But in my opinion, 10 minutes ago, this race needed to be control, and this break have complete control of this race currently.
So we see them coming back through once again through the Jesus Green in the centre of Cambridge. Coming across start-finish line once again. Led by Carl Jolly. Wait and see what their gap is over the peloton. It does actually look like it's closed a bit as they're coming through right now. And it's
that's the thing. So this gap will look like it's going to come down and then come off, then come down, then come off. It wouldn't surprise me here if we almost look at that time gap. It's now 12 seconds and go, it's day over for the break. But it was one rider from Tekkers there riding. So obviously he's got himself to the front and is now 3-4 laps absolutely full gas to try and bring this back down. So currently, by the looks of it, it's 6 versus 1 when it comes to versus the one Tekkers rider, Ben, trying to control things. So this gap might come down to 10 seconds, but it's always that last sort of 5-6 seconds to fully close this down is going to be really tough. So it wouldn't surprise me in these next few laps if this time does come right down to under 10 seconds, just through that sort of impetus from Ben.
But we see this so often, don't we? We get one team that's depleted in numbers. They put one rider on the front and they do one big all-out effort, and basically their legs are done. But they go to swing off and no one comes through to help. It's all the teams from the riders who are up in the breakaway. So the gap often does yo-yo like this, doesn't it? So there's going to be a real problem with having Tekkers on the front. Will they have to just close it down to as close as possible and then try and get Alec or Matt across that gap, do you think?
Yeah, I think in normal circumstances that is what you're going to have to do, and potentially that is what they're going to have to do. As if they want to win this race, they have to be in this front 6 riders. No matter how you look at it, they are leading the race and ahead of the bunch. So you either need to be in there and go across or bring it back. So it's still, in my opinion, it's still advantage breakaway. They have still really committed. No one's skipping turns. This gap, I'd be surprised if it's gone up in this last lap. It wouldn't surprise me if it's gone down a bit. But it's going to be what happens after that one rider doing that effort is done and dusted with his effort. There's just going to be ones and twos attacking off the front of this peloton to bring it back. So I'm still holding out. I'm not going to say that the breakaway are 100% going to win, but I still do think that this breakaway have the advantage currently over the peloton.
Yes, it is looking very good for the break in a moment. I find it interesting, you look at the timings and you can see Ride Revolution Coaching and Edinburgh Bike Fitting Race Team have got riders right up towards the front of the peloton, and it's rather interesting that they are getting up there to almost ride. Maybe Alec Briggs, Matt Bostock have been chatting around to some of the, as I said before, apologies, less big teams, and maybe trying to get them to come through and do a turn. Is that something that they might do at all?
Well, I mean, we can see here Ride Revolution have just led the bunch through now. You can see the whole bunch now sort of barrier to barrier, left to right side, which is, you know, naturally, as we were sort of predicting after Ben Teckers had done his turn to bring that gap. And, you know, at one point it did look like it was almost day done for the break. It came right down, has now gone out to 23 seconds to that breakaway now. So as predicted, it sort of came right down to sort of 12 seconds. Big 2-lap pull there from Teckers to try and get this race under control, but we've just seen 5 laps to go, and in my opinion, if this breakaway commits as much as they have been this whole race, that's it. That's the 6 riders going to the line for the win now.
Yeah, I do have to agree with you there. It does look like Teckers have done what they can there. They might try and launch an attack, but of course we see Muckhoff, SRCT, Stork and Das Richardson just completely out on the front. They've got all their riders there waiting. If anyone tries a flyer, there's going to be at least one from each team on that wheel immediately, and it's going to be marking out. So they're not going to get away without dragging one of the riders from the break, teammates, across to them. So it's just not going to work. You're going to end up killing your legs trying to get across while you're just giving an armchair ride to these riders who have a teammate up the road, or you're just going to sit in a peloton and just watch the race go up the road. Either way, it's very unlikely that you're going to be winning this race, and tactically this is an absolute nightmare for Teckers.
Yeah, I mean, you know, before, when we looked at our pre-race predictions of riders, not one of the 5 we mentioned are in this break. You know, there's teammates that are represented. Obviously, Longstaff was a favourite, having won last year, but Perrett's up there. And I think, you know, before the race, Das would probably have looked at this course and said, you know, Will, if you're up the road, we won't bring anything back. You know, it's your race to try and win here. So, you know, no one in terms of the fast sprinters are in that group. So as we discussed previously, this is a course that you look on paper and everyone was saying, oh, you know, most likely going to be a sprint. Even Tom Armstrong himself, who's in this breakaway going for the win now, he himself in his interview said, you know, this is most likely going to be a sprint. It's not. It's going to be most likely a very different fight to last. We see now Armstrong now taking I think that's maybe the last frame of the race. He took that, and it'll be interesting now to see what the this breakaway does.
Absolutely, yeah. Armstrong and Salter in the break have both been going for those intermediate sprints, those preems. It looks like Armstrong did get that one. I think Salter got the last one. Be interested to see what the final competition rankings will be in that. Just waiting for the peloton to come through, and yeah, this looks like it's done. We see, it's I think a Das Richardson rider on the front there, was it, or was it a Muckhoff rider? A few riders on the front there. Interesting, the pace is completely gone. It's heading back up to 30 seconds. We're inside 4 laps to go now. This is gone now, hasn't it, Ollie?
It has done, but you look like just coming across in between the bunch and the breakaway. We had Alex Beldon, Dan Barnes and Will Truelove coming across, so Muckhoff there. You know, from a numbers perspective, they are playing this fantastically, firing 2 riders without a Teckers rider there, without a Das rider there. It's at the moment they've got 3 across. Dan Barnes will have an armchair ride in theory with 2 Muckhoffs there. He can just sit on the back and follow, but you know, a 7-second gap over the bunch there. So all it takes is for that group of 6 there to slowly start to park it. Those 3 come across, and then it really is advantage Muckhoff. But it's going to be tight now with only 3 laps to go or so.
Do you think that was a Muckhoff instigated move, or I mentioned earlier about Dan Barnes being able to do these big efforts, these solo efforts in these sort of crits? Do you think it will have been him moving and Mukov just marking, or do you think Mukov would have tried to have got riders across in numbers to give them the advantage?
I think in those sorts of situations, when you know you've got a teammate up there who's riding, it might have been Dan Barnes attacking on the backside of the course there, and it just so happened that, due to the nature of Mukov, trying to shut the race down and be on top of attacks, they followed that right attack. Two of them hopped on, and they got a gap, and they're really commit now. They've got a gap, and they're not towing anyone in terms of Bostock or Longstaff and riders like that. Then they have to commit. Numbers for Mukov in the front here, the better. So the breakaway is they're still pulling full gas. No one's sat on, no one's looking at each other. They're all very committed here. It's still majorly advantage breakaway, but all it takes in this last lap is potentially for the break to start looking at each other. These three riders come across, and it's from 6 turns to 9. So it'd be interesting now as we come up through the start finish to see what this time gap is and the situation of those three riders coming off the front of the bunch.
Yeah, it looks like with 3 laps to go, they are all still working very well together. But it just takes someone trying to move in the last couple of laps for all of the breakaways hard work to fall apart. They could all start looking at each other. As soon as one person decides to make that move, it could all crumble for them. But we can see that the gap is going out, the gap of the break chasing. See Alex Beldon, Dan Barnes. But they were just dropping Will Truelove there slightly, but they've closed it down to 23 seconds. And Alex Pritchard and Das Richardson's is on the front. They're right on their tail now, the peloton. It's Das Richardson are chasing down the Mukov riders, unsurprisingly. But do you think Mukov are maybe looking for their points in the Rafa Super League as well, of course, because they've got Will Truelove and Alex Beldon in 2nd and 3rd in those rankings as well, of course. So there's big points up for grabs.
Yeah, I think that that is almost for a team like Mukov. Of course, it will be in the back of their minds, but I think right now in the race, when everything's full gas, adrenaline. You're sat at 185, 190 BPM in the last few laps. I think they just wanted to be represented as best as possible, and I think the rewards will come after. I'm not sure they'll necessarily be thinking purely of the Super League series right now. I think they'll just be thinking how we can win this race. But what's interesting is that lap before there, Alex Pritchard from Das Richardson did just post the fastest time of the race, closing 3 riders. So a 3:06.899 there from Pritchard. So Alex is he's an interesting rider. He's recently been diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, I think they were he didn't really know or understand if he was going to be racing at this sort of level again, and here he is. I think he raced the RAS and some other big races this year, and he's just posted the fastest lap, so he's clearly doing something right. Hats off to Alex.
Yeah, absolutely. It just shows that just because you get diagnosed with things like type 1 diabetes, that you can still perform at the highest level. We've seen that from the Novo Nordisk cycling team as well, of course, over the last few years, that even if you do have diabetes, you are still able to perform as an elite athlete. So yeah, absolutely, really good to see Alex Pritchard right up there, setting an incredible lap. It made me wince looking at that time there. I couldn't dream of doing anything near that.
Well, that's also interesting. There is, I think, Longstaff as the second fastest lap of the race as well. So, I think they're sat back there now. Perrett, in my opinion, he can win from this situation. Well, it surprised me that no one's gone on a flyer. This breakaway, the moment it started, has just been committed. No one's skipping turns out. No one's throwing arms. No one's getting aggressive with each other. But I think there is going to get to a point that once that gap is confirmed that it's big enough, to start to see some games between these riders.
Yeah, we're just waiting. Here we go now, and it looks like Techers have got a break going with Ben Tuckner on the front, Peter Cocker, Dylan Hicks, Joe Wilson, Ed Morgan and Alfie Amy all getting away there. They're still only 23 seconds down according to our tracker. But yeah, they still didn't have a massive gap over the peloton.
2 laps to go then.
Yeah, it's still, in my opinion, too little too late. You know, this breakaway have been fully committed now with 2 laps to go. So I'm still going to struggle to see, you know, the amount of effort that the riders behind, you know, even if they do bridge, the amount of effort that's required on this course. It's such a flowing, fast course. You know, it's not like a course where, like Guildford or a more twisty, hard circuit where you can make it through some corners and some hard moments on the course. So, you know, to catch this breakaway that are fully committed, a group of 3 or 4 riders could go 3 or 4k an hour faster just to close the gap, and that's going to use a massive amount of energy to do that. So, you know, even if they get within 2 or 3 seconds breakaway, it's still going to be extremely hard, as we saw this year at National Crit Champs. I think Bostock tried to come across, and it was just too little too late. He was coming up hot and just, you know, died in the latter stage of the last lap. So you know, it wouldn't surprise me if the break potentially on this last lap do completely park it and maybe look at each other, and we sort of think, well, potentially yeah, those riders could come across. But again, the amount of energy used is going to be a very high amount.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely looks like it's too little too late for the chasing riders, peloton or the breakaway, whichever, or the new attackers, I mean. It looks like the break are going to be going all the way. We've been saying this for quite some time now, but they're working so well together, and it's very rare to see a group like this going in the break quite early on and working so well together for such a long time. As we see Rowan Baker doing a really big turn for Raptor in this break. Tom Armstrong doing a lot of looking around at the back. The nerves start to come in as we're coming up to the final lap now. Not far away at all. We're coming into the hoardings again. Do you think Tom Armstrong's a bit nervous at the back there? Of course, he won the National Series, but he didn't take a win. This is a big opportunity for him here.
It is a big opportunity. You know, he's going to want to win this race. In my opinion, at the moment, with 1 lap to go, everyone's committed. You know, this break isn't sitting up and pausing, and then you can hit on the left or right side with a bit of a, you know, an acceleration and an element of surprise. This pace is so high in the breakaway that from behind with speed, and by the time you get to the front, everyone's aware that you're attacking. So I think the only way that a flyer or an attack is going to go clear from this breakaway is if it hits and looks at each other. But for the moment, they are fully committed still. Armstrong now come to the front. You know, this finish, it does bear round the corner. So yeah, it's one of these sprints that you don't necessarily need to lead out. It's not like there's a left-hander with 100 metres to go. Yeah, this sprint, I can't predict this. I can't call this. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, exactly. It's a group of riders that we're not sure. We don't know who's on a good day. It's been a long season. We don't know how much work each rider has put in. Of course, the riders who have had to come across 2 original breaks as well to form this group of 6. Some riders will have done more work than others. Some will be, they'll be unsure of each other as well. It could be working well for Will Perrett. We could end up having a bit of a track stand going into the final kilometre. They've got over 20 seconds still on the peloton. We saw, I think it was Will Salter at the back of the group there earlier, just going over the bridge, tightening his shoes. How important is it to make sure that, because you see it a lot with riders, they'll slacken the shoes, they'll tighten the shoes throughout the race. How important is it to, why do they do that, I should say? Why do you constantly tighten and slacken the shoes as you go around?
Just coming into the final, you want to be as sort of connected to the bike as possible. Nice tight shoes. Every watt you put through those through those legs, are being transferred. I think a lot of it is psychological. But yeah, there will be an element of just making sure that everything's tight and driving every watt of power out those legs through the pedals, through that chain, and onto the cassette to drive that rear wheel forward. So yeah, I think looking at this again, it's being 20 seconds. This group now have been committed this last lap. They could afford now to start to play games if they wanted to, but again, straight up to speed out of that corner. Everyone's riding. It does look like Rowan's from Raptors doing a lot of few laps. He's been probably putting the most into this breakaway in the last few laps. Carl Jolly there from Shills Dolcini race team. He's been nice and quiet. Perrett there also been quiet. So now we do see a natural slowing, and now would be my time to attack. But we can see Rowan moving left and right.
Rowan Baker's properly propped on the front now as we're coming into the final corner in the last few hundred metres. Got Carl Jolly on his wheel, just at the back there. Will Salter is sat in the black, is letting the bike go through in the last few hundred metres. Just waiting for the finish line, Cameron. Here we go. Waiting for this sprint finish. Rowan Baker was propped on the front. As the sprint opens up, and it's Tom Armstrong on the front. But can he go all the way to the line? It's a tight one. It's Tom Armstrong, the wheelbase Cabtech Castelli rider who won the National Series without taking a victory. He wins here today, and that'll just cap off what was a superb season for him. He was the only rider from his team at this race. He's ridden that perfectly. He looked really sort of jumpy and nervy in that break, so clearly on very good form. Ollie, what a way to win.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like the break were caught there, that last few corners there where they were sat up and looking, I think, jostling for position in that last lap from a lot of more individual riders there. Just closed the gap right down in that final run in that last K from the bunch. So yeah, Tom Armstrong from the break with Rowan Baker in second and Tidball in third, who cleared up the bunch sprint behind. So yeah, it was super tight. The break won as we thought it would, but yeah, it was a lot tighter than we thought. 0.049 seconds in the end. So yeah, a photo finish by the looks of things. So yeah, it all came down to that last lap, but what an exciting final there.
It just goes to show the speed that a peloton could achieve in the final as well. We see it from all this lift. Oh blimey! Put my teeth back in after all that excitement. We see it at the lower levels, the junior levels and under 23s, and we see it at the World Tour level. There'll be a gap of 20 seconds, which they had, as we see the finale again here. And it just closed down so rapidly. Will Tidball showing why he was a world champion on the track. No wonder the motorbike wanted to clear out of the way with the peloton rushing on behind. Yeah, what a finale. Will Tidball coming up for that podium finish. And by the looks of it, I don't know if we got Matt Bostock at all in the top 10. No, he didn't look like he was in the top 10. An interesting finale then. What a brilliant race. The defending champion Frank Longstaff was in 11th place. See all the riders talking about how they didn't see the peloton coming back to them.
Yeah, I mean, I think also when you look at the two teams that in the preview sort of looked at with Tekkers and Das Richardson's, obviously a good ride from Will there in the breakaway, finishing in 8th, but arguably on paper the two bigger teams that have more credentials within the UK crit scene, Tekkers and Das Richardson with a strong squad here. Wheelbase Tom Armstrong's now finally got his win that he wasn't able to achieve during the crit series, and he's got it here. So as we said before, this course, everyone can predict it's a sprint, but you wouldn't have predicted that final. A breakaway of 6, almost guaranteed to go to the line, and then on the line there, a completely different final there. So yeah, I think Das will be potentially a bit disappointed, as will Tekers there with the outcome. I think you know, they were in a great situation there with Perrett, but yeah, it just didn't work out for them in the end. But yeah, still two riders in the top 15 for them.
Yeah, Perrett ended up in 8th place in the end. A bit of a shame for BCC race team rider Will Salter. He was in the break. He was at the back of the breakaway and just laying off before the sprint started. He must have been swamped by the peloton, and he ended up in 12th. They'll be a bit disappointed, I imagine, not getting the top 10 there after all that hard work as well. But a brilliant win for Tom Armstrong. I'm sure he'll be over the moon with that. You can see the top results here now. On the screen, you see Dylan Hicks has been given the official best lap. Interesting to see that Dylan Hicks, having Rowan Baker in the break, getting the fastest lap there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would probably have been on that last lap there, coming with 1 lap to go, just moving up through the bunch. You know, Dylan may have started that last lap, you know, 10, 15 wheels back, and as the bunch sort of were jostling and fighting for position into that final lap, he may have just picked off riders and moved up through the bunch and naturally got that and got that fastest lap. So I don't think it's necessarily him pulling back or anything like that. You know, Dylan would have waited for that sprint, so I think it's more of a on that coming through with 1 lap to go, him getting himself into a good position. Yeah, a bit of a messy bunch sprint in the end there, having to dodge around riders coming back from the breaks, 6 riders coming back, and also the way no one went long, no one opened the sprint really early, so you know, not necessarily that it's the braces they sort of ruined their own chances there, but Tom Armstrong gambled and it paid off for him in the end. So yeah, he's going to walk away a wealthier man, and yeah, laughing that he held off the bunch.
And we were saying as well that we did say at the start Tom Armstrong would have to go into the break, which of course he did, but we didn't expect him to win it in what actually is going to be seen as in the future. We're going to see this as Tom Armstrong winning a bunch sprint ahead of some really fast guys, and that's not what we expected at all. But of course, it was a brilliant sprint by the wheelbase Cavtic Castelli guy. Rowan Baker in 2nd as well. 2 really good results for those riders.
Yeah, you know, the investment that Rowan put in that last 2 laps, you know, obviously has paid dividends. You know, I was saying that maybe he's done too much, but, you know, actually on reflection, that could have been the difference there that was enough to hold off. But I think here we're going to hear from the winner, Tom Armstrong.
Yeah, we've got it just ready for us now with James talking to Tom Armstrong.
The winner of the open race at the 2025 Cambridge Crit. Tom, the perfect end to your crit racing career for this year. You told me earlier you won the crit series, but you seem a little bit gutted that you didn't actually manage to win a round of the series, but here you are taking the win in the final race. How's that feel?
Oh, it's unreal, isn't it? To be fair, when we were chatting before, I didn't actually think I'd be able to win it. I've been thinking all week as to how I can manufacture a situation where I've not got the really fast guys with me. So I just went all in to try and force a move, and then like I had to bluff so hard in the finish because they were coming, but it's one of those where like you got to hope that everyone else wants to win more than you, and then when we came to the line, it was I think it was about half a wheel in it, but yeah, perfect end to a crit season.
And how did that slip away, that move? Because I was sort of saying before, I wasn't quite sure how it was going to play out. You know, with how the course is, it's pretty fast. None of the corners are that technical, bar 1 or 2. So it's not the kind of thing where it's like a guaranteed break. But obviously, like you say, you've got to get those fast guys away if you want to win. And to be fair, every time I saw you on the stream, you did, so it seemed to be sort of hiding at the back. So how did that sort of play out?
So to be fair, no one in that group skipped a turn, which was really, I think that was key to to actually like it staying as long as it did. Even when we were sprinting for the preems, everyone still kept rolling through after them. But to be fair, there was a move went early on, and I think Alec and a few others went in there. And at that moment, I was just thinking, I'm just going to sit here and wait and wait and wait. And then there was a bit of a lull. And down the back, it did it last year as well. For some reason, there's no wind, there's no nothing, but for some reason down that back straight, it always seems to clip off there. So I just whacked it out of that corner and looked back, and no one followed me. So I thought I may as well consolidate a gap. I spent, I think, about a lap and a half off the front on my own. And then it connected, but it was all still strung out, so I just went again. And this time Rowan came with me, and obviously Rowan's got a massive engine, so he'll always commit to a group, which was good. And then a few others came. I think there was a right combination there as well. You know, you had one Raptor, you had one Muck-Off, you had a guy from Shills, and we had a guy from Richardson Trek, and they weren't slouches either. You know, you got Will there, he's a really good track rider. So people that can really sort of roll through and keep the pressure on, which was, it just kind of worked out.
Yeah, I think that couldn't have played out any better for you. That front group, when as soon as I sort of saw who was in it, we just knew they were staying away. But yeah, well done. That you've got the redemption that you very much deserve for this season in the career. I'll let you go. Well done once again. I'm going to throw it back to you, commentators. Thanks very much.
Thanks, James. That was a really good interview there with Tom Armstrong. What do you think about the points he was making there, Ollie? We completely agreed with him throughout the commentary, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, he said there that the main thing he noticed and liked was that everyone was committed, and from the moment that break formed, there was full commitment. There was no one skipping turns, and yeah, that was the contribution on a course like this. As I said previously, it's such a fast course. You have to be fully committed. There can't be any passengers that can't skipping turns, messing about, playing a silly game. So, for all six of them there to commit, it's a shame that some of them missed out slightly on that top 10 from the break, because they did commit so well there to each other. And yeah, it's nice that Tom was able to hold on to the win there and get himself the win leading into the end of the season. He can go into off season now a bit more of a happy man with a win in a crit. As I keep on saying, the prize pot here is nice. So Tom will be happy with that. Him and his girlfriend can go on a nice holiday somewhere. Happy days. Absolutely. We'll go through the top 10 one more time before we start looking towards the women's race, of course. But yeah, in 10th place we had Will Truelove, and then we got the timings just change on the live timings. We just go into the women's one, so I'll just go off this. Will Truelove, and we had it's all gone for me now, unfortunately. But yeah, Tom Armstrong took the win. That's the big news. And we're looking forward to the women's racing now. And of course, we can look back at the highlights of the women's race just now.
Enjoy the famous sights of Magdalen, St John's and Jesus colleges, though, for the four out front, as it looked surely now that the podium was to be decided by either Sian Botley in the blue and the green of Das Hutchinson Brother UK, Matilda McKibben in the orange and the white of Dolcini O'Shea, Sam Fawcett in the green and the orange of Spectre Racing, or Sophie Holmes in the black of St Piran Women's Racing Team. Round the 90-degree left from Bridge as spectators surround the big wooden doors of Waywell's Court, as Sian Botley, now out the saddle, ramps up the pace on the front. Botley 10th in the final round of the National Circuit Series in Beverley on the 26th of July, her highest result in the National Series. She has Samantha Fawcett on her wheel now. Sam Fawcett has had a very strong season, 7th at the Fort Vale Colne Grand Prix on the 23rd of July, 8th in Beverley the week earlier, and 11th in Sheffield the week before that, so she's only been going faster as the season progresses. Matilda McKibben for Dolcini O'Shea, 7th earlier in the year at the National Individual Time Trial Championships, 5th at the Hearn one day in Belgium. Now that was an 8.2 kilometre circuit. Her best British crit result this year would be 27th at the Colne GP. And Sophie Holmes for St Piran Women's Racing Team, you see on the left of the screen there. 10th place at both the Colne GP and the Dudley GP, with 11th at Beverley, all three of those part of the National Series. So four incredibly strong riders in this leading group, with only one gentle turn to go into the final straight. Sian Botley, having led out nearly the entire last lap, now out the saddle, tries to bring it home on the front. With Sophie Holmes in the black as St Piran comes around her outside, and Matilda McKibben in turn in the pink for Dolcini O'Shea comes around the outside of Holmes. Samantha Fawcett coming around the right side of McKibben, as it would be between Samantha Fawcett and Matilda McKibben as Fawcett takes it on the line. Sam Fawcett then takes a brilliant victory for Spectra Racing here in Cambridge, just pipping Matilda McKibben for Dolcini O'Shea into second place. Sophie Holmes for St Piran Women's Racing Team would hold on for third to round out the podium. And Sian Botley for Das Hutchinson Brother UK, after leading out the last lap, would have to settle for fourth place from that breakaway. And it was her teammate Sophie Lewis who would lead out the bunch sprint to take fifth. We hope you've enjoyed this event. We hope you've enjoyed these highlights. Please do.
Thanks to Henry Newby there on the comms. He's, of course, our live announcer on site in Cambridge. Yeah, it's going to be a good race. It was a brilliant race last year. Of course, it was a breakaway victory for the women's race, whereas last year in the men's race, kind of a bunch sprint with Longstaff going for a kilometre to go. But yeah, once again, showing how the racing can be completely different. Maybe this time we'll get a bunch sprint from the women's race. Of course, you're quite heavily involved in the women's side of racing this year, Ollie, with Das Hutchinson, of course.
Yeah, I'm the sports director at Das. I haven't made the trip to Cambridge. So, yeah, I'm on the commentary instead. Can watch the girls. We have three riders there, Libby, Sophie, and who else do we have? I think Alice Sharp, racing. So, yeah, the women's side, this year in the Crit Series has been an epic year, really hotly contested between a lot of riders. So yeah, this race is going to be a really epic one. And yeah, the men's race set up nicely for the women's race to hopefully do the men's race justice, and can both have some very, very exciting finals.
And of course, last year's winner was Spectra Racing's Sam Fawcett, and we've got her in for an interview now.
I'm here with Sam Fawcett of Spectra Racing, last year's winner of the women's race. Sam, that was a pretty incredible performance last year, winning from the break. How did that feel?
Yeah, it was really good. I think three riders got away from the three main teams, so I thought it wasn't a move I could miss really. So I take the opportunity to jump across, and it managed to stick. So yeah, it was a really good result.
And how did you find the race overall? Because obviously it's a little bit different to most crits in that it's a 2.6 kilometre circuit, so it probably changes the dynamic of the race a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't normally think that you'd get a break on a circuit like this because it's quite wide. It's not really technical, but we had quite a strong headwind down one of the sections, and I think that's where the initial break went, and then it managed to stay away. But it's a really nice circuit. It's quite fast. Only one real corner, the rest you can kind of pedal through, so it's a pretty simple kind of basic circuit, but it makes for fun, fast racing. So.
And how are you feeling ahead of today?
Yeah, good. I had a really, really bad start to the season, unfortunately, coming down in a crash in May and breaking some ribs, so my season hasn't really been where I wanted it to be, but I had a good, nice 4-week block now of some decent training, so I'm feeling good. And obviously, of course, when you kind of win a race, it brings a different kind of energy to it, so yeah, I feel really good, and we've got a really good team this year. We've got 5 strong riders today, so brings another element of excitement to the race, I think. So yeah, good.
That's great stuff. Well, good luck today, and thanks very much for your time.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
The race circuit today starts at the heart of Cambridge as we go north along Victoria Avenue and over the River Cam. Turning left there, we follow the River West before the second sharp left to pass firstly Magdalen College, followed by St John's before our third tight left to pass along the right-hand side of Jesus College, which leads to our final left-hand turn back to the start-finish on Victoria Avenue. And that's a total lap distance of 2.6 kilometres.
And we're all ready and waiting for the start of the second women's Cambridge Grand Prix. It's a good field that we've got here today. We've got a good lineup of riders. With the defending champion Sam Fawcett. Sam hasn't had the year that she probably would have been hoping for off the back of the brilliant year she had last year. The 79 for Otley and 34 for Dawlish. But she's one of those sort of riders that you can never count out, can you, Ollie?
No, I mean, she showed last year that she is a race winner. there was a lot of good riders in that race, and yeah, she proved able to win from that breakaway. On paper, she's a very good rider, Sam, but you wouldn't put her last year down as a pre-race favourite to go and actually win the race. It's always nice when an outsider or a rider that might not be completely expected to wins. We're just looking now at her teammate there, Maddie Cooper, who has had a really, really standout season this year. She's engineering for Hansling Alba development team this year, and has been spending some time over in Europe racing with them. I think Spectra with Maddie, with Sam, with Jess Roberts, who's also just come off at an altitude camp with the GB track program. They have a lot of potential to mould this race. And Maddie herself is a very fast finisher. She won the Bud at Witheridge and at Guildford behind Robin Clay, who's obviously a very fast finisher herself. So I think Spectra, it's not necessarily their race to lose. There's other riders here that have that onus, but Maddie Cooper being now is a rider to watch.
Here they come. This is the women's race.
And Spectra, of course, they've got defending champion, as we mentioned, Sam Fawcett, but also they've got riders like Karine Side in there as well, and Maddie Cooper, as we mentioned, and also Jess Roberts, obviously. So, as you said, they're really in a very good position. As I was just about to say, and Henry beat me to it, we've got Zhang Kreis doing one of her first rides on the road this year. And it'd be interesting to see how the cyclocross she's focused a lot on gravel racing this year. And she's been avoiding the road racing. If you follow her on Instagram, she's been posting a lot about coming back to the road. And she's been doing very well on some of the circuit races this year. What do you think of her chances today?
Yeah, I think she's got every chance. You just never know. You can't write anyone off.
This race is going to begin.
As Sam said, she's come back from some injury, for example. But you just don't know. Like, she won last year. So everyone has a chance here, in my opinion. Anyone that signs on, anyone can win the bike race. Of course, favourite, a selection of riders. But yeah, it's going to be quite an interesting race. This women's race is no. DAS obviously don't have major representation. They just have Marie Porton, who was third last week at Curlew. So really, on paper, numbers-wise, it's Spectra with the numbers. So we are off and we are rolling, which is nice to see. On the way safely.
And immediately we get a really good attack going off the front. We can see Das Hutchinson very quickly onto that. And is that Sophie Lewis already closing down the moves with Zhang Kreis up there as well?
There, I think she is very, very motivated to win this race. She has two teammates, Alice and Libby. They have the capacity here. Sophie's been racing really well. She's just come off a good block in Belgium of racing. Won a Kermesse a few weeks ago, won a big elimination race out there, and then a few UCIs as well that she's been racing in. So Sophie's come from some injuries and some setbacks early doors this year, but every race she's been getting better. So she sprint up last year behind the breakaway, so she's going to want to make sure that absolutely nothing goes that she's not in. So it would not surprise me here if the rate does go that she's either in it or sniffing around. But we can see Hess on that right side as I'm looking at it. We've got Grace Lister and William too. You can't write Alice off. Alice has won a round of the National Series in the past this year. She won Klondike this year. Grace herself used to ride for DAS and has been having some fantastic results in UCI races. So in terms of Hess, with the two riders there, have a very, very strong double-edged sword there with Alice and Grace. But we can see now Spectra sort of just controlling things, keeping this race They're rapidly stringing out as we enter the first lap. But yeah, it will be interesting to see how Spectra play this, because obviously once the race starts to really go, that's when it's going to be more testing.
Yeah, at the moment, as you said, Spectra taking control of the race. They have the defending champion, but also they do have some riders who could definitely go for the sprint today. And they have pretty much all their riders on the front, but then we've got the Das Hutchinson riders and we've got the Hess duo as well, just sat behind them waiting for any moves to go. It looked a little bunched up going into that corner, and now it's all spread out a bit. Hopefully everyone got through that corner okay. There looks to be some gaps. We'll wait and see on that one, but some early gaps. It doesn't look like it's a deliberate move, but we've got Grace Lister going up the road for Hess, and there's Spectra and Das all in there. They are closing it back down though, and that could have been a big opportunity for some of the three big teams at this race to get a break early doors, but it is all back together again, and Spectra just returned to this high tempo racing.
Yeah, I think looking at this, Spas and Hess will be quite happy with a bunch sprint in reality. Alice is fast in a bunch sprint, Sophie's fast in a bunch sprint, and Maddie Cooper is fast in a bunch sprint. 3 teams, and those 3 riders will be, in an ideal world, wanting it to come down to a sprint. But, if that is the case, they can't switch off, so you can see some other representation from other DAS riders. It's bunched up completely, but there are big splits. And, in my opinion, I wouldn't say that first lap was particularly fast. So maybe something happened through that corner, but the place to be right now is definitely in the front, in that first top 10 wheels, and just staying out of trouble.
Yeah, and it's Spectra's Anna Flynn who led the peloton over the start-finish line there, with the first lap being 3 minutes and 37 seconds. So really, they're going on a fair lick at the moment. But yeah, all of the big names up towards the front. Libby Smithson of Das Hutchinson in second, then Alice McWilliam, Sam Fawcett right up towards the front as well. It's all bunched up. Karine Side for Spectra. What do you think about her chances? Of course, we've seen her in the past. She won the KOU Cup before today, and she's got a good turn of speed on her.
Yeah, I think she obviously, come from Smurfit West Rock in the past. Has a bit of UCI experience within that squad. I think I don't know a huge about her. I know that in the past she's done some really good things on the bike. So yeah, it'll be exciting and interesting to see how she plays it. I think Spectra, you can see instantly they have they have a plan to mark out every rider, mark out every move, and they're doing that at the moment really well. As we can see on that left side, you've got Lewis, Grace Lister, just sat there wanting to be in the front. This race, looking at it, it's not been very aggressive. No breakaway attempt, as we see now. Spectra have tried. Sophie hopping on. Sophie needs to just be careful of hopping onto too much, closing too many gaps down. That's an interesting dynamic, because you've got a Spectra rider attacking, Sophie going across with another rider. So, interesting now that they're really, really lining it out.
It's a good place for an attack there as well. A really tight downhill bend that goes into one of the few uphill parts of the course, albeit very gradual, but a good opportunistic move there from the Spectra team. Yeah, it looks like they're being very cagey and they're just trying to get a rider to force a move, but as you say, Sophie Lewis was right on that, marking everything, but Sophie immediately had another Spectra rider on her wheel, so it seems like Spectra are trying to force a break, but also they've got someone marking riders like Sophie Lewis as well, so they're trying to get multiple riders in that break, and it's a very strong start by them. But yeah, very different start to what we saw in the open race earlier today. And once again, it's a perfect example of how no 2 races are the same. In circuit racing, we see Zancrease moving up on the outside on the left, just getting blocked up by one of the Boom Pod riders. Boom Pod's an interesting squad as well, as they actually look like they might be trying to move, as I think it's now London Dynamo on the front.
Yeah, I mean, just the natural way it's started to open up currently. The race hasn't opened up. You know, there are riders, you know, everyone's now moving up the outside. It's just not going hard. Interesting from Spectra here, it's almost like they want to cover everything, but at the same time they fired off the front. So yeah, it's almost at the moment I'm just trying to work out what their game plan is here. Obviously Maddie Cooper's not been visible, which is obvious. She's not gonna you know, hit the win just yet, but yeah, there was a Spectra rider that attacked Lewis in her wheel, and a bit of a gap when Spectra were closing that up. I would have dropped that wheel and yeah, made another rider or another team come around and close it. But we now see Alice Sharp from Das Hutchison moving up. So Alice did start you know, at the back, and now she's at the front, so she's good at this, getting to the front, making sure everything's under control. That's what Alice is good at. So yeah, at the moment Spectra and Das are the teams here that are really in control of this race.
Yeah, Das definitely have all three of their riders up there, got good numbers. In that last lap, it was Rebecca Nash of Jardin Vive Lavello Glasdon who led them over, a time of 3 minutes 46, with defending champion Sam Fawcett on the wheel. But it's good that Sophie Lewis now has some teammates around her. And just looking around at other riders who can potentially be involved today, it's like Hansling Albert last season, of course, they were one of the big dominant forces alongside Das, of course. But Mary Porton this year, she's been quite solid, and we've actually got just a bit of a short interview with James Grabter earlier today.
I'm here with Mary Porton of Hansling Albert development team. Mary, how are you feeling ahead of today?
Yeah, good. Pretty nervous, but excited to do some more crit racing after the National Series.
You've had a pretty good year so far, notably recently getting third at Curlew. That must have been pretty exciting.
Yeah, I was really pleased with that. It's my first Nat A podium. I'm just really grateful to the team and the girls for allowing me the opportunity to develop this year. So, yeah.
That's brilliant. Well, good luck today. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Short and sweet interview there, but it's definitely someone to look out for. She's had a few good results so far this season, and Ansling Das, obviously a slightly different name to last season, coming into this not with that many riders. Hansling Alba even, apologies. But what do you think their chances could be today with Mary Porton?
Yeah, I think she just needs to basically be invisible. The moment she shows her card of what her intentions are early doors, yeah, she can't afford to be getting too involved in the early sort of moves and closing gaps. So she needs to gamble. She's got, you know, from what I can see, she's got, you know, a pretty quick. So she just needs to make sure that she's, you know, her nose is out the wind and she's following the right wheels and staying in that like, top 10, top 15 most. If she does that, then you know she's in the best position herself with no teammates. And sometimes, you know, when you have no teammates, that's all you can do. As we see now, it looks like Alice William making a move with Zan Crease on her wheel. Alice keen now to kick things off. Someone has to do it. Why not wind up an attack? Zan hot on her case. British cross champ this winter, beating Kat Ferguson and Imogen Wolf to that title, which was a very impressive win. I was very happy to see Zan win there. It was a rider that's, you know, raced a lot of cyclocross in the UK and at national trophy rounds, took against two world class under 23 riders. So Zan's obviously up for this today. It's just a cagey race at the moment. There's not really been a move or a team that have wanted to make this hard. So I think others are able to come back into the fold, come round, move up, and get back to the front. So unless this is really strung out and made hard, this is just going to keep happening.
Yeah, so far the main selection has been going out the back door rather than the front door. It's more of an attritional race for some of the riders unable to hack the pace. That lap was the slowest lap that we've had so far. Anna Flynn still holding the fastest lap from the very first lap. We've obviously now 3 laps in. But yeah, it's an interesting one. Alice McWilliam trying there. It was a big attack. She really properly went for it, but so many of the big names were completely all over that move. It's a tricky one when you've got teams like Spectra just controlling the whole front of this race here. It's almost impossible unless Spectra have the riders that they want in that break. It's unlikely that anything's going to go, do you think?
I think the only way a move goes here is that Spectra don't try and shut down, or at least control, is if Maddie Cooper's in there. If Maddie's in that move, it wouldn't surprise me if we see Spectra just very slowly slip back through the bunch. We've not yet seen her. She's not been at the front. She's not closed any gaps. We've obviously seen Sophie Lewis closing some gaps. Alice McWilliam there just showed her hand to make things hard. Obviously, being a bit impatient and wanting to get things going, which I don't blame her for. I'd be doing the same. Let's get this race underway. It's weird. The rider's going out the back, but this race is on off. It's hot and cold. It's 1 minute it's lined out and full gas, and then the next it's bunch at the start finish. So, at the moment, I think, as I've said, 2-3 minutes ago, it's still advantage Spectra and Hess, to be honest. You can see Grace and Alice there just sat in that top 10 looking quite comfortable. Grace has a fast finish, Alice has a fast finish, they both have fast finishes. So, if this does come down to a bunch sprint, there are a lot of riders here that have fast finishes. So, this Jaden Viva La Vela rider here has been very active trying to get things underway. I think sadly, trying to get away from Das, Spectra and Hess is going to be a hard task to do on her own. So you need to be a bit more patient and just wait for this race to open up and develop.
Yeah, it's more of a case of, instead of trying to force the moves yourself, maybe wait for the bigger teams to start breaking things up and just hope that just keep yourself in the right position. Of course, Rebecca Nash is right on the front here, which isn't necessarily the best spot for the Jardin Viva La Vela rider, but it's a bit of a tricky one for riders in teams like that when you've got the Spectra riders, the Das Hutchinson riders, the two Hess riders just swarming around the front and just basically suffocating any move that's trying to go away. Tactically for them, that's perfect. As you mentioned, they've all got really fast riders. They are in the position they want to be in. But it's difficult for riders like Nash and some of the other riders who will be wanting to curse the move. As we've got our first Prem sprint here. Das Hutchinson leading over the line there, and I think that was Sophie Lewis. It was indeed, ahead of Anna Flynn, Rebecca Nash, Sam Fawcett, Millie Skinner, Karine Side, and the rest of the peloton. Interesting that Sophie Lewis going for the intermediate sprint there.
Yeah, I think she just wants to go. It's not, by the looks of it, being a particularly hard start to this race. So Alice McWilliam there closing quickly on Sophie and Flynn there. So I think she knew. Interesting, like if I was a Das rider in fourth wheel, just drop that. But it's all closed up. Same for actually all of them, Hess there and Das. So Lister now goes with Sophie on her heels and Flynn following. So the moment a group goes clear of those big teams, and if it does happen, that's it, race done. No one's chasing. No one has the strength to bring that back. So. There is a gamble of waiting for the sprint, but at the same time, you've got the numbers here that you can go clear. So Sophie Lewis now chasing that motorbike full steam ahead now. So Sophie's committed to wanting to get this going with Grace. There has been a bit of a breakage here. So Spectra rider coming across. And again, Spectra closing this up again, even though Spectra are in the front. So I'm trying to work out here what Spectra's aims are. They've been doing a lot of patrolling, but then a lot of attacking, and now they've brought this together, a teammate in the front. So interesting move there.
I'm wondering, because the Spectra rider who was on the wheel of Lister and Lewis there, she was just hanging off the back a bit and looking behind, seeing where her teammates were. I'm wondering if she was thinking, I'm not the right rider to be with these two riders. Of course, as we've already mentioned multiple times, Sophie Lewis, Grace Lister, rapid riders. Maybe she was thinking, I prefer one of my teammates up here instead of me. But in that situation, you've got the three big teams going up the road. Surely you just go for that. But Spectra are clearly just all in for the win They're not in for a podium or anything like that. They want to continue having a 100% record at this race with their riders, seemingly.
Yeah, as I said at the beginning, they were wanting to be represented, and then they sent an attack off. So yeah, interesting. I think that, you know, because they have the numbers, they can play around a bit. But yeah, that's all been neutralised now. It's come back together. Yeah, that had potential to be quite a dangerous move. So it's all back together. Everyone looking at each other again, and you know what this means for some riders that were just in difficulty is come back and have a bit of a breather, reset, refocus, and try and move up. This is Jenny Powell now moving off the front. She's a rider you definitely don't want to let go. She is capable of going clear. She has very good previous credentials. She used to ride for Drops, Nicole back in the day. So you know she has experience. She has a lot of power behind her. So she's now stringing this out and wanted to get.
Yeah, she is probably stringing this out. She just tried to stealth away there, but Spectre once again all over her. We're just coming into the ordered section now, just to cross the start-finish line once again. Yeah, it's all
this is the thing for a lot of these teams. You know, to beat Hess, Spectra, Das, etc. You know you have to crack them, but to crack them you have to make the race hard, and to make the race hard you have to be, you know, attacking and aggressive. So you know it's great to see Jenny there attacking, and previously Rebecca Nash from Jade and Viva Lavello attacking, and now we have an on-form rider. But you know a lot of these less represented teams and riders that are individual, they need to be coming to the front now and really making this race hard and putting these teams under pressure, because for the moment these big teams have had armchair rides, and as you can see Das have missed out on this small group going, so just a bit of pressure from Jenny Powell, and now that on-form rider coming over it's put some of the teams. Spectra are represented, Hess are there, but Das have missed it. So you know the pattern is you keep putting the pressure on. You know you've got to be aggressive.
Yeah, there was a bit of hope there that move could have potentially gone back. As you said, Das Hutchinson just missing the group there and closing it back down again. Yeah, it's a tricky one. Jardine Viva Lavello very keen on forming a breakaway with one of their riders. They've got Charlotte Dakin as well as Rebecca Nash up towards the front. Both have been on the front a few times now. And yeah, keeping the pace high. More riders going out the back again. It's a tricky one to call. On form up there as well. It's a difficult one to call what's going to happen.
Yeah, you look at what you know. You need to attack and have a meaningful impetus here. So you know it's great that these riders are on the front, but you know you either need to go when the pace is slowed and then hit them with an acceleration for riders to really have to close gaps down. Yeah, just getting to the front and riding a more steady pace is obviously going to feel a lot harder for the rider on the front, because yeah, they're hitting the wind and everyone's sat behind. Yeah, instead of just sort of getting to the front and holding a steadier pace and a higher pace, it's waiting for those lulls to happen and then hitting it. So yeah, it's interesting. I think at the moment, you know, Hess again, Alice is just sitting three wheels all day. Alice Sharp now closing the gap onto I think that is Rebecca Jade and Viva Lavello. So yeah, it's almost just been rotation of teams at the moment, just closing things down, and yeah, other riders sort of looking to make the race hard, and those three teams just going, okay, we'll sit on and you crack on, thank you.
Absolutely, yeah. It was Cecilia Heim for Brother UK on form who tried that move after they crossed the line last time around, but she's now dropped back into the group again. Excuse me. And Das take it up again. Is it Sophie Lewis on the front again, or is it a different rider? All the Das riders are very similar riding styles from the front by the looks of things.
That's Alice Sharp on the front. I think Sophie's did that big move there early doors. to try and get a group clear, and I think she's and as she goes now. I spoke too soon. Sophie's on the move, so
going for the intermediate sprint again, I believe, and once again she mops that up with Alice McWilliam on the wheel, followed by Maddie Cooper for the first time up towards the front. Sam Fawcett, Kareen's side, all up there. Millie Skinner as well for Team Boom Pods. Mary Porton moving up for the first time as well. So we're seeing these riders who have been lurking in the shadows just starting to move towards the front again.
Yeah, I mean, now's the time that you really want to start, moving up. We are approaching, the halfway point now. So riders are getting more tired. I always say to our riders, in these sorts of crits, you're going to have a lot of riders that have fresh legs in that first instance. So you need to use those riders to make the race tough. If you're smart, sit in the wheels, follow, be in the front, top 10 wheels all day. That last 30 minutes, if it's still together like this, you can really have a strong impact on the race and the outcome to really open that race up. So we're into this sort of like last half of the race now, 30 minutes, 25 minutes to go, and it's still on off, very cagey as you see Spectra coming to the front.
Absolutely, and while we've got yet more cagey racing, we're going to throw down to James live course side in Cambridge.
I'm down just past the finish line at Cambridge Crit, watching the women's race. I'm going to talk a little bit about the riders we've got in the race today. So I'll start off talking about Sophie Lewis. Sophie has won quite a few national crits over the last few years. She's not quite managed to clinch one this year, and coming away with 2 second places. She has just won the Prix, the first Prix of the day, so she's definitely looking strong. It'll be very interesting to see what she does today. Obviously, I'll touch on Sam Fawcett as well. We spoke to Sam earlier. Sam's a fantastic rider who's had a bit of bad luck this year. As she mentioned, she's been taken out by a crash and she's not raced quite as much as she'd like to, but she got 4th at National Crit Champs, which is a fantastic ride. And hopefully we can see her do something special today and maybe clinch that win like last year. We've also got Meg Barker in the race. Meg's a fantastic crit rider. Also another brilliant rider on the track, but she's proven herself in crits time and time again. She's got on the national podium this year, but she's not quite managed to get that win, so it'll be interesting to see what she does today. I feel like quite a few of these riders, it's almost a little bit like Tom Armstrong earlier. They're fantastic riders and they've just not quite got there, but today is their last chance for redemption. I'll also touch on Mary Porton. Mary's just got 3rd at a National Road Series round at the Curlew Cup. That was a fantastic ride, getting up the road in a break of 3. She also got a top 10 at National Crit Champs, so she's proven that she is a talented crit rider. She's definitely got a chance today. She is the only one from her team though, so she's not quite got the advantage some of the other girls have got. And the last rider I speak about is Grace Lister. Similar to Meg and Sophie, she's a fantastic track rider, great crit rider. She's got a few top 10s in the crit series this year. And she even got a few top 20s at the Tour of Britain, which is of course a very, very prestigious race. But it'll be very interesting to see what she does today. I'll throw back to my friends, the commentators back in the studio.
Thanks for that, James. We've got Jardin Viva Lavello back on the front of the peloton again as we're coming up to the start-finish line once again. We're seeing Team Boom Pods came up to the front briefly while we were away there, and they tried to drive the pace a little bit, but once again it's the same thing of these teams coming to the front, setting a tempo, not really doing much with it, as we do look like we are getting an attack coming through now from Lucy Havard from Cambridge University Cycling Club, which, wouldn't that be a story? She's on the front now, absolutely piling on the pressure, but once again, no gap for her to get away. But really good to see her on the front in her local race.
Yeah, it's as I said before, someone has to make this race hard. So she's obviously had enough of this cagey racing, on-off racing. That's the thing. Nothing's going to go and nothing's up. When there's been a lot of moments in between these attacks where it's lulled and slowed up, and then riders can recover, come back, and essentially and go again. So yeah, for anything really, there's not been a moment where for one full lap it's been full gas from start round to the finish. There's been moments where it's been hard for 30 seconds, and you sort of think, okay, this is splitting up. The back door has been open, as they say in cycling terminology. That back door has been open. Riders are going out the back of the bunch through that door. So it's obviously a mix of riders. Not been an easy race by all accounts, but still not hard enough to break this race up. And it will get to a point where we come into these last 5 laps, definitely, where everyone is almost going to go into the mindset of, okay, 5 to go, this is going to be a bunch sprint. We might see 1 or 2 riders in that last 5 laps, but with 5 laps to go, that is going to be that time when the Spectras, the Hess and the DAS come in and go, okay, this is 5 to go, let's keep this under control and not let anything go. So the time is ticking. They don't have a time now for any rider that wants to go clear to get going. And yeah, it's great. These riders have been on the front riding a hard. Look who's sat behind tidy at the moment. It's DAS, Spectra and Hess. So for them, you've got an extra teammate essentially at the moment pulling along and keeping this pace nice and strung out, not having to use a teammate or burn a rider. So accounts keep it going. But as I said, you need a bit of element of surprise. So you need to hit them with speed and not just ride at a consistent output.
Well, as you say, potentially an extra teammate. Lucy Havard riding for the university team of the city, Cambridge, of course. This could be a perfect opportunity for her to be in the shop window, but perhaps just doing a solid pace for almost an entire lap on the front of the peloton may not be the best way to do it, but it's good to show her jersey at the front of the race in her home race. But yeah, could potentially be a thing where she just sort of goes up there to try and show her face, try and get the attention of some people. She led the Cambridge Criterium for almost an entire lap there, but now Das Hutchinson and Spectra take over once again with Jardine Di Blabello and Hess lurking in the background, as is San Crease as well, of course.
Yeah, as we can see now, Alice Sharp riding this front. She has a bit of impetus in the legs now. You can see she wants to keep things lined out. We are looking at a good portion of this race that has already been done now. For these riders, getting on the front, keeping it all together is, as I said at the beginning of the show, there's a lot here that have fast finishes.
Absolutely, as we come across the line once again with Das leading the way. Just waiting for our timing screens to have a little update. But it's, as we said, Sharp on the front, setting that pace for Sophie Lewis. Definitely one of the big favourites coming into this race. You see the timings for the previous lap. Yeah, Sharp is setting a good pace, but there's still a lot of looking around. At the moment, it looks like Hess, McWilliam on the wheel of Lister. Do you think that's the right way around for the finish, or might they swap round, or both just wing it and freelance it?
I think it will come. It's not a team race at the end of the day for Hess, in a sense. It's not their team aren't here fully represented. So they won't be riding against each other, but they need to use each other. So we just saw Alice on the front there, and now Grace is kind of in front of her. So if I was those two, not necessarily leading each other out or one rider leading the other out, I think in an ideal, both going for the win isn't a silly idea. Alice is fast. Is a good bunch sprinter. Grace can do a good bunch sprint too. She's fast. She's got some really, really good track background and track heritage. They'll just rotate. It wouldn't surprise me if you see Alice sprinting in the finish. But you can't discount and turn away from Grace Lister, as we see. I think that is Maddie Cooper from Spectrum moving up now on the wheel of the runner on the front there.
Yeah, it looks like Spectra are getting ready to just set this up for a big lead out to the finish. We are coming up to the final 5 laps of this race here at the Monument Cycling Cambridge Criterium. Really lovely day today. It's nice temperatures, quite warm, mid-20s. Sun's come out for this evening as well. We've had a mix of overcast and sunshine. Pretty good. Some late summer racing conditions as Spectra are really ramping up the pace here as we're coming up to another intermediate sprint, I believe. I remember a couple of months ago now, as I was watching a race with Alice McWilliams getting set up for an intermediate for a sprint finish at the Antwerp or Epic, I think, which was won by Susanna Anderson of Uno X Mobility, and she was being led out by Maeve Plouffe and unfortunately crashed that day. There's a couple of times where she's had some really bad luck when being in really good positions or being in really good form, so she'll be hoping that she can have a better performance today. Boom pods come back to the front again, but once again the usual suspects marking it out as Alice McWilliams is coming from deep in the peloton, potentially going for the intermediate sprint, but also trying to force a breakaway as well. Dropped on the front. You see Sophie Lewis just coming over the top of her now.
So again, that looked like an attack potentially from Alice. She didn't fully commit to the sprint. It looked like a bit of a wind up of an attack. See now Sophie trying to string this out with Alice on her wheel. And yeah, as I said, inside 5 laps now, it's going to be quite a hard battle to get clear, especially with all these riders from all these teams represented in the front. So. Yeah, I think these riders now that are going to be looking to sprint are going to start really thinking about this last lap and how this last lap will.
So we'll see, it looks like Rebecca Nash trying to move there, but Sophie Lewis looked around just at the wrong moment and she got no element of surprise, and now she's just propped back on the front again. Frustrating for her, but she's continuing the effort once again. We've seen her do this multiple times now. There's one rider who I think is quite interesting. I've seen every single lap she's been roughly around the front, and that was CJ O'Shea's rider Isabel Darvel. She was right up towards the front in that lap again. She slipped back a little bit now, but what do you think about CJ O'Shea's chances in this race as one of the smaller teams?
I think they've got a good shot. Not been in the front here at all, showing themselves. So yeah, maybe they're going for the gamble aspect of the race and come late in the last few laps, which could be the smart way if this comes to a bunch sprint, as we see now Spectra with Sophie from DAS on the wheel there, going full gas. I'm not sure who the Spectra rider is. Might be Kim Baptista potentially. Absolutely emptying the tank and going all in.
Yeah, and it's the 3 usual teams once again. But Alice McWilliams trying to join her teammate Grace Lister, and that is potentially killing this break off. That it's once again teammates just not letting it go. That would be a perfect opportunity. Yeah,
it's just a classic drop the wheel. She had to drop the wheel there. You either come across, which it does look like she's coming across now, but she has to fully commit. Jay now on that left side looking to close that down. But if Alice gets there and that goes clear, then that is the best outcome. And it looks like there is potential for this to go clear. Alice now coming through. She has to pull. So Spectra, Das, and Hess. Advantage Hess here with just. There is a lull now. Zan Kreese behind, looking like she's trying to punch across. So these riders really have to commit. If they want to go, they need to go now. So Grace coming to the front, absolutely driving it full gas. But we're inside 5 laps to go now. There's not going to be a drive from Spectra. There's not going to be a drive from DAS, and there's definitely not going to be a drive from. So, who's going to chase? Who's going to bring this back?
Yeah, and Zan Kreese can only do so much, and I think she is already looking around for help. We're going to be seeing who this Spectra rider is as they come across the start-finish line once again here. But Hess are in such a good position here. Das, Hutchinson have got exactly the rider they probably would have wanted to have up here. We're going to see who They are joined by from Spectra, but Spectra seem happy with this for the first time in this race. And it's Anna Flynn, who has been doing a lot of work at the front of this peloton, but she went on the attack. Rebecca Nash once again for Jardim Viva Lavello leading the chase in the peloton. But yeah, interesting group, having Flynn being the rider going off the front after doing all that work early doors.
Yeah, I think, you know, for Spectra, it's now about, you know, trusting Anna that she can do it. I'm not sure. I think it was Rebecca Nash from Jardim Viva Lavello on the front of that bunch there. Alice Sharp, Lucy Harvard, yeah. So they're maybe looking again. I'm not sure why Anna. If they're going to want to bring it back for Maddie Cooper, why you wouldn't put Anna Flynn and sit her on? So she's almost drag racing her team at the moment.
Yeah, it's actually,
so, yeah,
I think it's Darvel from CJ O'Shea on the front. From distance it looks very similar with the orange, but I think that is Darvel on the front. But as we can see, Spectra and Das just fully locked on the wheel. But she's doing an amazing job. She might actually close this down here, but it's just, as soon as she's done, that's it. And she's done. Jardim Viva Lavello come through with Rebecca Nash, but is the pace going to stay up?
Yeah, I mean, these girls in this front, you know, it's going to be the case of that final few metres is the hardest to close. These four, I mean, in my opinion, Hess needs to be doing more. I know Grace just pulled a really strong turn there, but Alice looks like she's skipping the odd turn now. You know, they have the numbers. It's your race now. Come on, you need to be fully committed. You've got the two riders, so in this race you need to drive as clear. And Grace is now coming to the front. But I'm interested. I don't know who this vested interest behind is that's chasing. Because obviously, if it is Rebecca Nash from Jardim Viva Lavello, she's got strong legs in herself here to either go across or do well in the sprint for fifth place. But by towing the whole bunch back, she's just burning a huge bullet now to try and bring us back for herself and right herself out of the race. So she just needs to be just thinking, because she's clearly got some real strong legs on her at the moment.
Yeah, she's been at the front of pretty much the entire race, in the front of the peloton, that is. And she does have a teammate in this race. Maybe they have the legs, like as they say in Belgium, the diamond in the legs. But yeah, she's not closing it down now. The gap looks like it is starting to come away again as Alice McWilliam does start to do some more turns. Flynn dropped back behind her on that corner to force her through, but maybe Alice is just suffering after having to do a very big effort to get across to these four and made sure she snapped that elastic with the peloton as well, as we're coming up to the start-finish line again, and I believe it's 3 laps to go when they cross the line here.
Interesting take here is that if I was Anna Flynn, I would be sat there going, I'm going to skip turns, I'm not pulling here. Because Hess have got the advantage. Spectra have the fast rider of Maddie Cooper behind, and they've been quite obvious that Maddie is that rider they're going to go for. So, you know, Anna is contributing quite a lot to this break. You know, she might want to go for the win herself, and she might have been told, you know, let's go. We can go for the win for you, Anna, if you're in this situation. But if I was Anna in this situation where, you know, this could come down right to the wire, it's going to be about who has the freshest legs on in that final lap. If I was Anna, I've got Maddie behind. You know, you've got Alice, who's fast. She is a favourite sprinter, really, for the bunch sprint, as is Sophie Lewis, and Grace has a fast finish. So, you know, it's not on Anna Flynn here to really be pulling this group clear and actually coming through. But if anything, she's been contributing alongside Grace Lister. So, yeah, it's an interesting dynamic in this breakaway.
And it was Jennifer Powell who was leading the peloton behind there once again, with Sophie Holmes from CJ O'Shea and Zan Kreese all on the front there. They are just over 7 seconds down now. Kim Baptista is just marking them though, and Alice Sharp's right up there as well. Maddie Cooper very close to the front as well, and just 11th place on the road. So it's an interesting situation at the moment. It's lots of individual riders from individual teams trying to bring it back. So it's 3 against 4 at the moment. But I completely agree with your point, really. It's Spectra have the faster rider back in the peloton, and they have the riders that could close this down. But we're coming to the crunch point in this race now, that do they decide that they're going all in for Anna, or are they going to try and work for Maddie Cooper to maybe take this sprint and close it all back together again? It's a very tricky tactical decision that they're going to have to make out on the roads here in Cambridge.
Yeah, looking now, you could put Anna on the back of this break. Bert and Sophie, which are the two biggest threats to Maddie Cooper, completely get in the way of this breakaway. And in the last 2 laps, it comes back together. Maddie's been sat tight, hitting any wind, but just being towed back, back into the winning situation. But yeah, I think Flynn looks like she's fully committed here to the win, and she has every right to it. It is easy to critique. She might have really good legs and think that she can take. Maybe we're doing a bit of disrespect to Anna. So she's obviously confident in her ability here to finish this off again. 3 very, very, very good riders of Sophie Lewis, Alice McWilliam, and Grace Lister.
Yeah, she's on the front again and properly drilling it. So she's clearly very confident in herself, which is really great to see. Backing yourself and going for it. But as we say, she's done a lot of work today. She was one of the first riders on the front of the peloton controlling for Spectra. So the fact that she's pushing so hard at the moment, interesting. But you see the gap has gone out quite significantly in the last third of a lap or so. So yeah, these 4 working together well now. Alice McWilliam is now starting to come through a lot more. Maybe she just needed to breathe there. But yeah, they're all working well together. Coming back around to the start-finish line once again. You can see waiting for that peloton to come round that final corner. We can't see them at the moment. There they are, and it looks like some more moves are now trying to break off from the front of the bunch. So we've got 2 laps to go when they cross the line here.
Yeah, so what's interesting now is that you've got Grace and Alice from Hess, who are obviously very committed to this breakaway. This is an ideal situation for them. For Alice, she's fast. She can win from any situation. She can win from a bunch sprint. She can win from a breakaway. And to be honest, she could probably win solo as well. So if I was, we see Marie Porton now from Alba on her own having to try and close this down. She might get 3 or 4 seconds off this time gap on her own, sit up, and then the time gap gets lost again. So it's a really frustrating time if you're an individual rider like Porton is on her own at the moment. But again, you see Anna Flynn now coming to the front. But yeah, Hess have had, they've been contributing a lot. But if it was me, there's going to get to a point where you need to, either put Grace or Alice to be driving this gap as far out as possible. Because as we saw in the men's race, we were sat there going, this looks like this could be a done deal for the breakaway, and it did end up in that way. The winner came from the breakaway, but it's never until it's over. So if I was a Hess rider, at some point we might see them having a chat. You're going to have to put one on. Really, really, really wind this gap out as much as possible. But Sophie Lewis here from DAS looks fully committed. She wants this group to go clear instead of trying to duck and dive around a bunch sprint. She's quite happy to take this group to the line. So no one's skipping turns. No one's looking at each other. No one's trying to get in the way of each other. Anna Flynn coming through. So I think this breakaway. Like it could go to the line, but we don't know. We don't know, as we saw in the open race.
Absolutely. At that last lap, it was 13 seconds between the two. But as you say, they're riding very honestly at the front. They're all coming through, all working well together. As we say, Mary Porton for Hansling Alba Development Road Team on the front. But Maddie Cooper, Alice Sharp and Kim Baptista are on the wheel. Dan Crease is up there. Danielle Watkinson was up there for Giant Viva La Vella as well. First time she's been near the front. She of course got a podium at I think it was the Ottley Grand Prix last year, behind. Oh, here we are, thinking of the rider. That will not come to me. But yeah, maybe that's who Giant Viva La Vella. It was. She was riding for. I don't think it was Kat.
Who won Otley? Kat was on that podium, I think, from what I can remember. I think it was, her from Jaden Viva Velo, Ferguson. Can't remember the winner.
I
should know.
It's appalling, isn't it? So whoever won Lancaster last year, people will be shouting at the stream and they'll be saying, "Oh well, you should be remembering this." And yes, I should. Yeah. I do apologise to that rider. I know that she's been racing. I think she's been racing in America this year. Anyway, it's not coming to it, so we're going to have to leave that as we focus back on the race here in Cambridge, and the 4 leading riders still working well together. Be interested to see what the time gap is after this lap. We're going into the final lap. It doesn't look like that's closed down at all. It looks like, if anything, it's bigger than it was before. No sign of the peloton at all coming round that corner. No, they're gone.
Yeah, it's interesting. So Anna Flynn now fully committed still. She might be out. Yeah, 4th is a good outcome. It looks like that she's been really committed to this move. Trying to ride against 3 versus a full bunch again is going to be better and easier for her. So it's not like she's just pulling for 2 or 3 seconds and then flicking her arm going to the back. She's quite happy to just keep riding at her own speed and her own pace. So yeah, it'll be interesting what this time gap is now. I mean, that has ballooned massively. I mean, that is, yeah. I don't want to say that's a done deal completely, as we saw in the open race, but that does look like that is, 32 seconds is the time gap now. So that, for a moment there, a few laps ago, it was almost within touching distance, and this is just ballooned out. The quality of this breakaway, every rider in this breakaway is a quality rider. Sophie, Alice, Grace, and Anna, they are all really top riders within the UK crit scene. So no surprise that these 4 have gone clear. So it's going to be an interesting sprint between these 4, or maybe Grace tries to go long is what I would try here, and put Alice on the front now, put Grace, slow it down, send Grace off the front and make Anna and Sophie chase. But yeah, they might be quite happy for it to come back down to a sprint out of this group.
And I'll tell you what, Ollie, I've remembered who the rider was. It was Frankie Hall.
Ah, yeah.
Which is shocking that we both forgot her, because she is, of course, a fantastic rider. But yeah, she was the one who beat Daniel Watkinson in Otley last year, I believe. Yeah, over 30 seconds now between the break and the peloton. As we look like we've got an attack,
and there's the move.
Just as you've forecast. Yeah, Grace Lister going off the front, forcing Sophie Lewis to do the closing down. She's straight on it. Alice McWilliam she's fine on the wheel, as is Anna Flynn. All 4 of them staying together. But that is the first big move as we're coming towards the final moments now. We've got about 1.5 kilometres to go. It's looking a bit cagey, but that is a match spent there from Grace Lister, and yeah, it's all gone a bit cagey. We saw this in the open race, where we thought the breakaway had this overwhelming lead. They were going to ride away with it and have a big gap on the peloton, and the peloton closed up rapidly. Is that going to happen here? We're all set up facing the front of the riders, so we can see if the peloton is rushing in behind. And there's no sign of them at the moment, as Grace Lister is looking around on the front. No sign of that peloton in the background.
In my opinion, has to just ride. She has to ride full gas. There's no right now. Flynn behind. Slowing this speed is risky. Not only for being caught from behind, but opening attacks. If you want to slow it up, stay to that barrier, but keep that speed up. For Grace, you need to trust Alice. Alice is fast. She can beat Sophie. So interesting here, like she's admitting, but at the same time almost looking for the sprint herself, which as we said, she's fully entitled to. But it's if I was, I'd be keeping that barrier nice and tight as the sprint
and there she goes.
Now opens up.
Alice McWilliam. Yeah, Alice McWilliam goes. Sophie Lewis in the wheel, and it looks like Sophie Lewis is going to have this over to Hesrides and Anna Flynn trying to get out of the wheel, but it's going to be Sophie Lewis for Das Hutchinson all the way to line, and no one was in her league there at all. It looks like Alice McWilliam just complaining a bit to Sophie Lewis there. A little bit of a hoo-ha afterwards, but that looked like a clean sprint to me. Ollie, what do you think? I think that's a pretty often easy win. Alice is not happy though.
Yeah, I don't know what she's on about there. I'm not sure what Alice would. Well, I think she's just maybe salty that she lost. I don't know, but yeah, that was a clean that Sophie did there.
Well, according to our trackers, it was Kim Baptista leading in the peloton behind ahead of Libby Smithson, Maddie Cooper, Alice Sharp, Lucy Havard for Cambridge University Cycling Club with a superb top 10 for her, and Isabel Darville for CJ O'Shea rounding out the top 10. But Sophie Lewis gets the win. Yeah, I'm not sure what Alice McWilliams is looking for there, but yeah, she takes second. Anna Flynn did get up for third in the end, Grace Lister in fourth. But yeah, we'll wait for the replay on that, but it's all smiles from Sophie Lewis, and I'm assuming from you as well, Ollie. Of course, your team taking a win as we hear from her here.
Working together.
Yeah, it was a good race.
No, yeah.
Good fun.
Some people perhaps weren't happy.
No, I mean, there was space. Yeah.
There was space, Ollie. It was fine. What are your thoughts on it?
I think maybe obviously that they had the numbers there with Grace and her being there. Maybe they could have done a bit more to make that final few more hard work for Anna and for Sophie. But looking at that sprint, we'll see in the replay. I don't think there was anything in that. Sophie's a clean sprinter. She's got a lot of experience, so I'm sure it's just one of those frustrations where in the moment you sort of think something happened, or you felt like you had got a bit hard done by. But I'm sure it was a clean sprint. But yeah, no, great to see Sophie take the win there. With Alice in second, and Anna Flynn, she'll be really happy third with that, on the podium herself. So yeah, a nice contrast to the open race. Each year, last year, obviously the two races ended in a different way, and the break did just hang on in the open race, but two really different finishes. The break comfortably winning versus the break just being caught. So here's the. I think we might have potentially up is that replay of the sprint here. So Sophie is nowhere near, but.
I think we'll wait for the full one here. Here we go. We're going to get the full sprint here. As Alice opens up, Sophie there, and Alice sort of gets caught in her gears. Sophie, there was a tiny bit of closing, but she still had space to open up. And I think that is a perfectly fair sprint. Going around the corner, it was a bit difficult to judge, and going in from it was quite a slow launch into the sprint as well.
Yeah, I think she also had, that camera can make it look like everyone's a lot closer together. I think Sophie had well and truly come over the top with a gap in front. So yeah, a nice win for Sophie and a good win for Das Hutchinson taking the win there. So here we go.
Yeah, I'm not sure. If anything will really come of that, but it's a good solid podium from Alice McWilliam anyway. It was really good tactics from Hess in the end. We were saying at the time when the attack was forming, it's like, oh, Alice, why is she following the wheel? It's done exactly the same as what Das had done, what Spectra had done, trying to get multiple riders into that breakaway. And then suddenly the elastic went. It was like, oh, right, well, what do we know, eh? But once those four were away, it was the teams we said would probably be the teams that would go away, and if they got a gap, that was basically the race, and that is exactly what it proved to be. And we got a good winner from Sophie Lewis, who probably on paper was the favourite coming into this race. But yeah, I think that was a very entertaining race, and in my opinion, as Alex probably won't be happy with me saying, a fair sprint at the end. But we'll go through the top 10 from 10th to 1st. There's Isabel Darville for CJ O'Shea Racing Team in 10th. Lucy Havard with a fantastic 9th place for Cambridge University CC. Alice Sharp for Das Hutchinson getting up there for 8th. Maddie Cooper for 7th for Spectra Racing. Libby Smithson for Das Hutchinson in 6th. Kim Baptista in 5th for Spectra. Grace Lister in 4th for Hess Cycling Team. Anna Flynn for Spectra Racing in 3rd. Alice McWilliams, of course, in 2nd for Hess. And Sophie Lewis taking the win for Das Hutchinson. But yeah, Das Hutchinson and Hess both with 3 and 2 riders respectively, getting all of their riders in the top 10, the top 8. Very impressive from both of them there. And I do believe we have James down in Cambridge with our race winner today, Sophie Lewis. Over to you, James.
Sophie Lewis, the winner of 2025 Cambridge Criterium Women's. Sophie, that was pretty much the exact story as last year, except with a different winner, with a break of 4 going up the road. You definitely got your redemption as well after 2 seconds in the National Crit Series this year and finally taking the win. How did that feel?
Oh, really special. Yeah, I think the race went exactly how I sort of wanted it to go. Sort of opened up the legs with the primes, and yeah, I sort of thought a break would go after that sort of last prime. And, yeah, it went pretty easily actually, and then it was just keep it rolling through, and then I knew I sort of backed myself in the sprint in the end, even though I knew it would be hard in that last lap with obviously 2 from the same team. I knew Grace sort of attacked on the back straight, but you could tell it was going to happen, so I sort of followed
number 37.
cat and mouse until the sprint at the end.
You seem to ride that absolutely perfectly. I could see on the last lap it looked like Grace was trying to get away a little bit. Did you ever have any sort of intention to try and get away, or did you back yourself in the sprint from the get-go?
No, I sort of like the break had gone. I sort of knew that was the break of the day, and then to be honest, I sort of knew I could win the sprint, so it was just keeping it rolling and making sure sort of I'm not giving it all my beans and everyone else is sort of chilling and just sort of watching, ready for the moves to go and following them.
Well, like I say, absolutely fantastic to get a win after 2 seconds this year. How's the sort of season been in the crits?
The season as a whole has been pretty horrible, to be honest. Didn't race for the first 5 months, and then it was sort of coming into the crits, which I knew I wanted to win crit champs, to be honest, but that didn't quite make it into that split. So, but it was disappointing at the same time. Actually, I was pretty satisfied with it. Bear in mind, I hadn't really raced at all before then, so yeah, but it's nice to finally get the hands in the air. And a home race as well. I grew up just outside Cambridge, so I know the roads well. It's pretty special to be here.
That's brilliant. Well done. What an absolutely fantastic day of racing with 2 very, very worthy winners. 2 winners who didn't quite manage to get a National Series win this year, but took the last National A title of the year. I'll throw back to the commentators for the very last time. Thank you for joining me today. It's been a fantastic day of racing at the 2025 Cambridge Criterium. Back to you guys.
Cheers, James. That's great. Some good words there from Sophie. Of course, it's been a tricky year for her, but really good for her to get a win at the end there, Ollie, isn't it? As she says, on her local roads.
Yeah, no, Sophie said, injury and other things this year that she's battled with, but class is permanent, isn't it? As the saying goes. So, when the stars align and everything's up and running and good to go, Sophie's always she's a true race winner. So no surprise that she took the win there, and it's good to see, but also great to see such a good representation from just the mix of teams. Spectra having 3 in the top 10 and 4 in the top 15, with Corinne Side in 11th, and obviously and representing Hess here at the Cambridge Criterium. So it's really nice to see that top 10, a diverse but also a confident top 10 where Spectra, Hess, DAS, the top UK teams representing the race and having a great day out. So it's really good to see.
Yeah, absolutely. They properly dominated this race from start to finish. There were some other teams, Genevieve Lavello, of course, Charlotte Dakin, she came 12th in the end. Really solid result. They really showed themselves in this race today. Not the result that they probably would have wanted, but yeah, as we say, it was all about Das Hutchinson, Hess and Spectra today, with pretty much almost the entire top 10 made up of their riders. Only Lucy Havard of Cambridge University and Isabel Darville of CJ O'Shea being the riders not from those teams. Maybe they'll get snapped up by one of those teams. It's definitely an opportunity for Lucy Havard, that's for sure. Maybe we'll see more from her in the future. But yeah, it's been a really wonderful afternoon of racing here in Cambridge. It's we're just waiting for the podiums, I believe. But yeah, it's a lovely day, late August, trees are turning. It's to use a West Yorkshire phrase, it's looking a bit back-endish in the year. But yeah, it's a really wonderful late summer race in the sunshine. See, there's Sophie Lewis. celebrating her victory. As he said in the interview, 2 second places this year, been a bit frustrating. No win coming until today, but yeah, she'll be really pleased with that. Really fantastic performance by her and her teammates, of course. But yeah, just one last word from you, Ollie, before we bring our coverage to a close, as we're not able to hold on for the podiums. But what a brilliant day of racing once again here for a second year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's just shown again that, you know, with the right backing and the right support for these events in the UK to go, you know, we can put on a show and we can put on some great racing. So, you know, it's great that Monument have put this event on, and it's attracted some really good riders, and not just riders, but some, you know, the best UK teams. It's a shame that the British Cycling now World Tour or Pro Continental riders anymore to do these national A's, because yeah, it'd be quite interesting next year to have a couple World Tour riders race around the streets of Cambridge. But maybe that's a little discussion that you guys could have with British Cycling. But yeah, it'd be great to have more of a just more of these races. And yeah, what a great event. Yeah, chapeau to Monument and everyone behind the scenes. It's been a really, really, really well run event.
Absolutely, well said, Ollie. Yeah, we've got to give thanks to all the sponsors involved who have made this possible. Owen, of course, who put it all together and has gone through all the stress of organising this. He's done a superb job. Really loved it to see Alice McWilliam giving a hug to Sophie Lewis there. It's obviously a heat of the moment, and yeah, it looks like we're all coming to a close. Thank you for joining us. I'm Tim Bonville-Gin. I've been with Ollie Moore. This has been the Cambridge Criterium, brought to you by Monument. Thank you very much.